All right. Thank you very much for joining this evening. We have a packed house. Must be something on the agenda that everyone's paying attention to. That being said, Councilman Box, if you would please open us up.
Everybody join me for a minute. Part two. Father God, we just want to thank you again, Lord. Come to your courts with thanksgiving in our heart and enter your presence with praise, Lord. Thanks for your goodness, your mercy, and your kindness. Lord, tonight we're coming before you again, and you already know the results of what's going to happen tonight. So, Lord, help us to act appropriately as we achieve those results. Help us to, where we disagree, be agreeable. Where objectionable, be kind. And most of all, be respectful. Knowing that no matter who we are or what we are, we're all your children. We all have your divine goodness living in us. And we ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. All right, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Roll call. Councilman Spivey, present. Councilman Sims.
Present.
Councilman Box.
Present.
Councilwoman Cuellar.
Here.
And Councilman London. Outstanding. Thank you very much. I went in reverse to give you an extra couple steps. Absolutely. All right. At this time, with past roll call, I would ask for an approval of the minutes from the regular city council meeting of May the 7th, 2024.
Motion to approve the minutes from the May 7th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
Motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No abstains, no abstentions? Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda would be the approval of the current bills.
Make a motion to approve the current bills in the amount of $1,391,801.09.
Excuse me.
We have a motion?
No. Council President Spidey, I had some questions on the council expense
Yes,
approval
ma'am.
report. On page 5 of the approval report, there are some expenditures for our library, but they are entered as coming out of the administrative department. Is that a data entry error? On page 5, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entries. It's library, but it's allocated to 6,54310. That's administrative. I'm looking at the top of page 5 on council expense approval report. Home Depot credit services.
I don't know what she's looking at. She was here.
You see those amounts, there's 121.20, 134.95, 37.96, $59, 12.90, and $50. 2024-5-14-LIB, and when I looked at the invoices, they did state it was for the library. Yeah, because I looked at all the invoices and they were shown as the library, but they were charged to the administrative department. The next items are on the Truist P cards. I have some questions on those, and looking at the invoices, we have what's known as a backdrop banner from Fabric Sign Guys. Can you please let me know what that was for? The Truist is on page 10. But I actually went in to look at the invoices.
Lee, I can answer that. The backdrop is that's what it is. It's a backdrop that was used when we promoted the city at the prayer breakfast. That's the thing that you usually take pictures behind with the city
Alright.
logo.
So are we gonna use that for other events, or was it just solely for the prayer breakfast?
That's for the city to use at all city
At all
events to
city
be able to
events, very
take
good.
pictures.
Okay. Then, there are some additional expenditures, and this is for Amazon. And it does state that it's prayer breakfast and then an Office Depot one for the prayer breakfast, but these were not city-sponsored events. So I'm asking that we either hold off on paying this particular credit card and take these off the city expense and allocate them to, I believe it was the Irondale Community Foundation, if my memory serves me right, that sponsored that event.
Can you share what the charges are?
Well, I'm looking at the description. It says prayer breakfast. And then the description on the next one from Office Depot says card stock prayer breakfast.
Can you share what the amount is?
The amount is $47.98, and the other amount from, it's Amazon, is $43.18. Then there are some additional charges that were made on Miss Tolbert's P card, and this is for the jerseys for the celebrity basketball event. Here again, it wasn't a city-sponsored event, and it is for a total, when I totaled all these invoices, it was for $478.55.
That event was approved by the city when we approved all of the projects or the events for
I
the city.
actually looked at Resolution 2024-R-06, and it is not shown as a city-sponsored event.
I don't have that in front
But
of me.
these were all jerseys that were purchased for the celebrity basketball game. And I did go back, and I do have the resolution number that you can use as reference, but it's not shown as a city-sponsored event. So I'm asking that those amounts be taken off from the city's public funds and allocated to, I'm assuming this was the Irondale Community Foundation.
Legal, do you agree with her assessment on the, I don't have that resolution in front of me. Okay.
Yeah, you can, I'll give you the resolution number, 2024-R-06. And my apologies, I should have printed it out. But if you can pull it up on the laptop, you should be able to find it. The other credit card, this has to do with Mayor Stewart's P card. The consulting services to Fairview Strategies. I'm at a loss because we've got, these are robocalls and it says consulting services. I'm not really sure what this is for. It's why I'm asking.
Well, I can tell you what they are. Those were robocalls that were made for events that were promoting the city. Those were also Facebook boosts were given to things that was presented by the city.
Okay, because the only thing it had here was message from mayor, and the invoice had consulting services, and it's why I was confused.
Well, message from the mayor is in its 41st, I think, publications. I've been doing that for a while.
All right, I just haven't seen an invoice payable to Fairview Strategies, and in the many months that I've looked at the invoices, I've never seen one payable to Fairview Strategies, and it is for a little under $1,000, and it's why I was asking what all of this was for. So the only ones, Mayor Stewart, if you're saying this was for city events, robocalls, I'm good with that, but I would like the others to be taken off because they are not city-sponsored events.
To the best of my knowledge, we don't have the ability to not pay these bills based on the structures of the of the structure of the funding sources. We have to pay those. We're contractually obligated to. Is this a conversation that you can have with the foundation about an offset?
Well, we can basically have those, once it is researched, we can have those charges reimbursed
Yeah,
to the city. But it doesn't make sense to not to pay the entire bills that are out there versus just to be able to do that. So it's not a problem to have those reimbursed.
Fair enough.
Council President Spivey, I wasn't asking that we not pay the bills. I was simply saying that we need to either be reimbursed.
Perfect.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Perfect. Councilman Box.
Just modifying the motion that we still pay the bills in the amount of $1,391,801.09, but that Councilwoman Quayler present her findings to the city clerk or the revenue office so that we can discuss with the Irondale Community Foundation or whatever other groups may be appropriate to have a reimbursement check issued if one is necessary or required.
We have a
That's my
motion. We have a motion on the floor.
Second,
Second motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Mayor, you have the floor, sir.
Okay. Not going to take long since we got this big crowd out here. I was talking to the sisters before I sat down, and we're hoping that there's a certain spirit that's flowing around here tonight. And we also talked about we hope that it's not a satanic spirit that is flowing in here. So they told me they were praying back there, and because I know that they're doing that, everything's going to be all right. I'm going to go ahead and proceed with my report for tonight. Also, I do have two small additional reports that I would love to make tonight. One of them is going to be on the water department, and I'm going to give you an update on the levels of PFAS that's in the water system. And I also have Rod Cantor here from Bradley, who is one of the top bond attorneys in the U.S., and he is going to give everybody an educational lesson on the PBA. So if you want to know exactly what the PBA is about, what it's designed to do, we got the best in the country to be able to share with you tonight. On the 15th of last Saturday, we had the Irondale Farmers Makers Market. It was kind of light. I think it was because of the weather. Everybody thought that it was going to rain, but they were out there. That was the second week for that, and I'm encouraging everybody to come out next week. The second thing was we had a ribbon cutting at UPS on 5/15/2024. Not only did we cut the ribbon, but I had an opportunity to mail one of the first packages in the city, and we mailed a Taste of Irondale to Coach Saban for his participation in the prayer breakfast. So that was pretty cool to be able to do that. On today, we had a mental health seminar because it's Mental Health Month, and we realize how important it is for everybody to have great mental health. I think at one of the groups, we had about 40 people to turn out. And at the second event, we had our fire department and police department, since they come in contact with people all the time. I can't remember if somebody was there from Public Works. But we just wanted to make sure that we educate our people how to be able to do that as well. On the 15th of May through the 17th, I had an opportunity with Councilman London to attend the Alabama League of Municipalities. It was a wonderful event, learned a lot of things, new information, things that are getting ready to happen as we move into 2025. If you all see Emma, you all could either hang her or kill her tonight if you want to. On last night, she told me we were only going to the Cahaba for 30 minutes. And when the tour guide said that we were going to be on the Cahaba for 4 miles, I knew 4 miles wasn't equivalent to 30 minutes. But we were out there until 10 o'clock last night, cruising on the Cahaba. It was very cool. The Crandall family was the group that went with us from the city of Irondale. That was my first time being in a canoe. That was my first time being on the Cahaba, and I shared with them. I'm more than happy to come back and to be able to do it all over again. This week is Public Works Week. That's the reason that I'm dressed in my uniform. I worked over there 2 days in Public Works, and I can truly say that I was so glad to get back to City Hall. Those guys worked real hard over there. I was on the garbage truck yesterday to be able to do recycling. I rode for 1 block, 1 can, and then they made me get in the cab. But I enjoyed the time that I was out there. They really do a fabulous job. It's a hard job. And I wanted to share with everybody, when you put garbage in your can, please bag it. You don't know how important it is to do those things that we ask you to do those things until you get on the back of the truck and people don't do those things. It makes it very hard on them. I mean, it's never a day that the weather is good. There's never a day that the smell is not there. And they show up every day to be able to dump your cans that you overload, which is very hard to get a 95-gallon can up when it's overloaded. So just think about those little things from now on as you go forward. That is really not about you, but it's about the guys on the back of the truck and any little small thing that you can do to make their job more easy. I'm asking you to be able to do that. Also on the 15th of May, I had a chance to be able to light the torch. We had a law enforcement run to come through the city of Irondale. They were coming from Anniston. They stopped here and they allowed me to light the torch. I promise you, if I had some hair on my head, I may have burned it with that torch because it was getting pretty close to my face, wasn't it, Pastor Mike? And but we were able to pass that off and to be able to do a good thing. Also, if you're not doing anything on Saturday, June the 1st at 6:30 p.m., yours truly will be throwing out the first pitch at the Birmingham Barons game. I would love for you all to come out. I'm going to try not to embarrass you. I'm going to start throwing pitches before I get to the game. I don't want to be like Stephen A. and bounce it before it gets to home plate. So you all please pray for me that I'm able to throw that first pitch. Now I want to be able to give you an update on PFAS. The last report that we have, and this report was on 4/29/2024, and the results are, according to EPA, it's supposed to be 4 parts per trillion is the acceptable limit until 2029. And I'm proud to say that our contamination rate was 0.00099. So that's less than 1 part per trillion. We're in the process of doing some pre-planning as I speak. We're working with Morrow Technologies, who is won the contract to be able to drill for new wells. They are doing some pre-planning. They're also doing some geological studies, and we're trying to determine where is the best place to be able to drill the next well. You don't just get a contract and go out there and start spending $100,000 to drill holes all over the place. It does take some planning to be able to do that. And we may even have to purchase some property or right of way or whatever to do that. So I wanted to let everybody know in the audience that we are strategically working to be able to remove this contaminant from your water. But if you want to leave here today with the right information, if you want to leave here today and go get on Facebook when you get home, I hope your story is that the contamination rate in the city of Irondale is below the acceptable limit that's been set by EPA. If you want to be able to see the report, I'll let you see it for free so you can see it for yourself. Also, I wanted to say this. If you want to get correct information, please don't call our vendors to think that a citizen can just call on the telephone and they will give you the information about what's going on in the city of Irondale. Because I can't do that. I can't just say, call Birmingham and say, hey, give me the report. So please, if you all would stop calling the vendors and call the city, because it's very confusing to them when they are getting calls from citizens to give them information that is supposed to come to the city, because they work for the city. They do not work for you. They work for the city. So if you want to get information about PFAS going forward, you can ask me or you can ask Jared. We are your reliable sources when it comes to wanting to know what's going on. If you all want Jared to come to your neighborhood and do a road show, he's available to come to your neighborhood and do a road show and talk to you about it as well. At this time, I will turn it over to the best bond attorney in the world, Mr. Rod Cantor. But while Rod is coming, I would like to announce that Trocadero, the new hair salon, will have a ribbon cutting on June the 4th at 10 a.m. Hope to see some of you all there. Rod, why you take the long route?
And real quick before you get started, Rod, thank you for your presence with us tonight. This is meant to be a factual presentation to address concerns that we have been made aware of. This is not a Q&A session. This is for Rod to deliver a report. Thank you. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know you'll have a lot on your agenda, and I'll be brief but informative. As Mayor Stewart has mentioned, Rod Cantor, I'm at the Bradley Arant Law Firm, and I'm pleased to serve as bond counsel to the city. And I'm here tonight to explain, give an overall view of this public building authority that will be used or intended to be used for various public facilities to be financed essentially by the city. First, I'd like to start off and explain that public corporations and authorities are used quite commonly and regularly here in the state of Alabama. Our laws have hundreds of these types of entities on the books that can be used. Birmingham Airport Authority, a good example of an authority for airports. Birmingham Waterworks Board, a good example of a public corporation board for water service. Children's Hospital, for instance, their facilities are financed by the Special Care Facilities Financing Authority of the city of Birmingham, and it goes on and on. The point is a lot of municipalities and other entities in the state finance public buildings using these various types of authorities. For municipalities, it is not uncommon to use a public building authority when financing large and city critical facilities. So the Irondale Public Building Authority was actually already created in 2005. So the city already has this entity. It's not a new entity that is to be created. And essentially what the city would do is have the public building authority first have a board of directors appointed to it. That board of directors would work with the city's financing team to sell bonds. These bonds would be used then to build the various public facilities to be financed. These are things like new library, new city hall, things of that nature. The authority, I want to point out, which is very critical, exists on paper. It doesn't have a staff. It doesn't have its own council. It doesn't have any types of employees like you might see at a city, for instance. So even though the authority issues the bonds, the proceeds of the bonds, the actual money received, goes right into an account that the city controls as agent of the authority. And the city goes and causes the buildings to be built. Again, there's no staff of the public building authority. So it is city staff that handle those construction contracts just as the city would any normal construction contract. After the facilities are built, they are leased by the public building authority to the city. The city's lease payments are then used to pay the debt service on the bonds, and it works that simply. The public building authority, I cannot emphasize enough, is used as a conduit, an intermediary, but all the functioning of the facilities, Again, the building, the operation, the management, the insuring, all of that is done by officers of the city. It's done by the city. And essentially, that's how that transaction works. I want to emphasize that this financing structure is nothing new here in the state of Alabama. Again, it's used quite often for public facilities. The city of Huntsville has a new city hall and parking deck. That was done through the Huntsville Public Building Authority, as was the Huntsville Orion Amphitheater. The city of Trussville financed an extension of its community center, as well as a new fire station using the city of Trussville Public Building Authority. The city of Alabaster has a new municipal facility, and it is all for public safety. It's a fairly large facility. They use the city of Alabaster Public Building Authority. The city of Florence built a new city hall and parking deck using the city of Florence Public Building Authority. I can go on, but I think you get the idea. This is not a new path. This is a well-traveled path. It's something, again, that municipalities use and follow when building these types of mission critical, we'll call them, municipal facilities. And that, I know y'all have a lot on the agenda, and there's a lot of people here probably not to hear me speak. So I want to go ahead and conclude that, but that's the short and sweet of the structure.
Thank you, Rod, for your presentation and coming tonight and giving us a very brief understanding of what the PBA is all about. But I know that there were information floating around about what the PBA can do, what it can't do, what it's supposed to be doing. And I know that you all have heard me say what it should be doing. But also I realize, according to the word, sometimes it says that a prophet is not accepted in his own hometown. And you need somebody else to come in to be able to say the same thing and give you the same information, and everybody walk out and that person is considered to be a genius. But that's just the way that it works in politics from time to time. So I want to thank you, Rod, for coming. And Rod will also be back at our next council meeting on June the 4th as well, to be able to share even more about this financing structure. Thank you, Rod.
Yes, sir.
Council
Thank you, Rod.
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate
President
it.
Spivey,
Thank you.
are we allowed to ask him some questions
Not at this
tonight?
time. No,
Not
ma'am.
at this time, okay.
It will be on the agenda.
Okay,
Go
thank you.
next council meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Let me find my glasses. Does that conclude your report, Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry. That concludes my report.
Okay. I'm going to reverse the order tonight. I'm going to start with myself, mainly for some housekeeping issues. As always, I remind you to please keep your cell phones on silent. I always like to remind everybody, let's keep the chatter down. Okay. The other thing I'm going to state is that I was unfortunately not able to attend the last P&Z meeting. I was reported to me, and I've spoken to several people that were at the P&Z, including the chair and a few others, that it was not a typical P&Z meeting. It got a little different than a typical P&Z typically would. So what I am stating right now in this meeting will not resemble the P&Z meeting, any shape, form, or fashion. Okay, so I just need that to be stated. We're going to do this meeting by the numbers, and I will not tolerate any outburst from either side of this dais. Fair enough? Thank you. That concludes my report. Councilman Sims?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm going to read this off because I want to get it right. I got some emails this week about an amount of money that was mentioned last week in the council meeting, and I just wanted to clarify the correct figures. At the last council meeting and in some of the emails I've received since, an amount of $15,750 was used as the amount of revenue that the city would be giving up if the occupational license fee was reduced from 0.75% to 0.5%, a reduction of 0.25%. That is an incorrect number. If 15,750 were to equal 0.25%, then the whole month's revenue from the occupational license fee would equal $47,250, which is not the case. I got some updated figures from the city clerk today, just to make sure my math is correct. And the revenue received from the occupational license fee through March, for the first 6 months of fiscal year 2024, was $2,221,698,000. I'm sorry, $2,221,698.72, which equals $370,283.12 a month on average. And that is at the current rate of 0.75%. An amount of 0.5%, which would be the proposed reduction, would be 2/3 of that. Therefore, the amount of the reduction would actually be $123,427.71 a month, not $15,750. So if we're going to debate numbers, let's debate the actual numbers, which is $123,000, not $15,000. And I just wanted to make that statement because I got emails and the numbers didn't look right, and when I looked it up, they were not. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Box?
Thank you. Hey, good evening, everyone. We were scheduled to have a senior citizens meeting, and I kind of dropped the ball on that. I suppose we didn't get it advertised. So I'd like everybody to take a look at their schedule for the second week in June to see if we could have the senior citizen committee meeting on that second week in June.
What day on the second week, Councilman Box?
The 18th?
That would be then 4th, the 18th.
At 5 o'clock?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm good on that day.
And Mayor, could you be here on that day?
What day is that?
The 18th, please, of June.
18th of June? Yes.
And how about our director? Are you here this evening?
I don't know. I'll check with her
If you could check.
to see if she can.
I will not be able to attend that meeting, but please don't hold it up for my account.
Okay, yeah.
I'll read the minutes.
Since we missed it, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, if you can do that, I appreciate it. And for the sake of time and the deliberations we're going to be tonight, then that'll end my report.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for being here. Some reports for our council members, and then I would like to respond to Councilman Sims's comments in regards to the occupational license fee.
I'm not going to allow the comments on his report. Thank you.
I just was going to state that the figures I got were
I'm not
from
going to
the
allow
April
comments on
30th.
his report, as I would not allow his comments on your report unless they were invited.
I will make those comments at the next council meeting. Okay, thank you. Reporting to the council, I wanted to state that I participated in the Alabama League of Municipalities annual convention, where several meetings were held, which consisted of updates on various laws passed and signed into law by Governor Ivey. She, by the way, gave the keynote address on Wednesday. One law in particular will affect all elected officials, and it is called the Alabama Municipal Official Training Act. The Alabama League of Municipalities legal team covered the act, which takes effect January the 1st, 2025. The act requires mayors and council members to complete 10 hours of training annually provided by the ALM during their first term in office. All elected local officials will be required to receive 5 hours of training credits annually after receiving the 40 hours required for the ALM's basic certified municipal official certification. The other sessions covered rural health care, Sweet Trails, Alabama, which was really some great information, sensory inclusive training for law enforcement, and how benefits such as health insurance, HSAs, and flex plans can recruit and retain high-quality employees. And the highlight of the ALM convention is always the roundtable discussions that take place with council members and mayors from municipalities that are comparable in size, where we sit down and discuss. And this time we responded to questions provided by the ALM. Now, because of time constraints, I will work on providing those of you who were unable to attend the convention with a summary of what was covered. This concludes my report.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman London?
Thank you, Council President. First of all, good evening to everyone here. Got a full house, like I'm playing a basketball game. But I also went to the League of Municipality meeting, and I'm not going to speak what she spoke on because I was there. But one meeting I went to was conducted by a guy named Matt Lehman, and he discussed going from conflict to conversation. Conflict to conversation. In my profession, that I take very seriously, I'm not talking about the city council. I'm not talking about the work I do with the kids. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about what God has put me on this earth to do. I take that seriously. Because in the end, it's not going to be how many years I spent on council. It's not going to be how much money I make or my good looks. You know, I know I'm not going to be about all of that.
You were doing well
I
till you got
appreciate it. I
there.
got to do doing well. But it's going to be about how I serve the people that I come in contact with. So he talked about, he made this statement. He said, the purpose of local government is to enable individuals to join together in recognizing and solving community problems. Our jobs as council is to help you join together. But when you're on social media tearing us down without even having a conversation with myself, now I read your post, but I don't respond back to that stuff on social media because I call people like that social media gangsters. But I'm like my dad. I'm like my dad. If you want to have a conversation with me, I mean a man's conversation, and then you pick up the phone, you call me, and then we'll meet, because I love to sit down and look a person in the eyes, because you can tell something about a person when you look them in the eyes. Can't really tell them anything about a person on social media. So it's our responsibility as council, and it's your responsibility as a citizen of Irondale, to join together to make this the greatest city that you could ever live in. You live in this city for a reason. You live here because you love it. All of you. And I know you have different opinion, I do too, and that's good. You know, even Jesus, the people that he served, his people, that's why he went to the cross. Because somebody had a different opinion than he did. So it's all our responsibility to bring us together. Let me read you this. Proverbs 6:16, for you Christians out there. Proverbs 6:16 says that there are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him. I wish I had one witness in here. I got one over there. 6 things that he hates and 7 that he detests. 1, he hates naughty eyes. 2, he hates a lying tongue. 3, he hates that hands that shed innocent blood. 4, he hates a heart that devises wicked schemes. 5, he hates feet that are quick to rush into evil. 6, he hates a false witness. And 7, he hates, this is not my word, you read it for yourself. He hates a person who stirs up conflict in the community. That didn't come from John. That come from a profession that's going to get me into heaven. So if you any one of these, hallelujah, he's coming back one day. I ain't mean to preach to you tonight. He's coming back one day. If you don't think so, the word says that when he comes, every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess that he is the Lord. Now, I hope he don't come back when you're doing one of these things. So if you want to join together with John London, you call me and you pick up the phone. And I'm going to leave it like this. I got 2 of the nicest emails that I have gotten since I've been on council today. 2 of the nicest, and I responded. I normally don't respond back A lot of times I don't read your emails when it's negative. If it starts out negative, I delete it. And I responded back to these 2 emails today, and I thank them for their concern about this city and their community. Of course, we're on the same page. And that's my report.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next item on the agenda is going to be public comments to the council on non-agenda items. These would be regarding items that are not on the following pages of this agenda. These are non-agenda items. I had a gentleman reach out that I'm going to allow to go first. He reached out to me about some concerns that were on his mind, mainly because he asked for additional time. We have agreed on terms. So I yield the floor to you, Mr. Marty.
Good evening. My name is Marty Schwartz. I live on Haven Hill Road. A lot of you don't know me, so I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. But before that, I made a social media post regarding the financing of the capital projects about 3 weeks ago, and had a lot of positive comments and then had some pretty negative comments, one of which said that I'm fearful of progress. Another one said that I should go crawl in a hole. And the third was something about a Pamchenko, which I had to look up, which is some movie from 1992. I'm not fearful of progress or vision. I think that's great. We've lived in Irondale for over 40 years, probably more than most of you here. I coached baseball and t-ball. I coached soccer for 8 years when we had the Irondale Soccer Association. My wife and I fought against the trash transfer station many years ago. I served as the chair of the abatement board for many years. I also serve on P&Z, and thank goodness I wasn't at the last meeting because I understand it was quite an experience. So I am very involved in the city, as is my wife. We raised our family here. My kids went through the IB program. So we're very proud of Irondale, and I really like progress. I would have spoke at the last meeting, but my wife got seriously ill, was in the ICU, so I was not able to come. Thank goodness she's doing better. So as far as progress, Mayor, I appreciate bringing Publix to the city of Irondale. You and the previous mayor worked on that project and brought it to fruition, which is great. But we have lost a lot of business. You all know what those businesses are, and we're going to lose the salvage company soon. So I'm worried about the debt and the revenue in the city. I'm not here to be confrontational. I'm not here to irritate anybody. I'm just here to try to be as factual as I can. And if I'm saying anything that's not factual, please correct me. And actually, one of the individuals that commented on my social media post actually has posted on the thread that I need to hear the presentation about the PBA, which I appreciate that. So I have heard it. Thank you. The city has $4 million plus or minus in surplus and 12 in reserve. The reserve can't be touched. We already have about 50 million in debt. We're talking about adding another $60 million in debt to our existing debt. And the revenue for the city of Irondale is not as great as some of the other cities that you talked about where they've used PBA to get these funding projects. They have a much larger revenue than we have. So I'm worried about that. And the number one reason and the number one way that this debt will be resolved will be through the property tax increase, which expires in 2029. I voted for that increase.
Marty, that is your 3.
Okay. I would just like can I just summarize?
Just please summarize quickly.
I would just like the council to be fiscally responsible to all of us in the city when talking about funding these projects. I'm for progress. I love things advancing, but please think about the long-term problems and debt that we will encompass with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments to the council on non-agenda items?
Bavona, 1296 Shades Terrace. Last meeting, occupational license fee reduction voted down 4-1. Council President, you said yes to the question, do contractors pay the occupational license fee? It's not an accurate statement. It's a feel-good statement for those who pay it. It's a fact. Spectrum's contractor for 2 years in Grants Mill Valley did not pay it. Heck, the workers showed up with luggage. Without job site superintendent pays it on a new library site. And a District 5 counselor, for each home you sell in Irondale, I doubt if you give the city 0.75% out of your 3% commission. And not all city workers pay this tax from their salaries. The $500 to $1,000 awards they receive here pay their fees for the year, our tax money that pays for their employment fees. Michael came up here and offered a book to read, research showing reducing taxes bring in more people, business, and revenue. She was ignored, and why people are moving to Florida. Your 4 dissenting votes show no compassion for the minimum wage earner who needs every dollar in their pockets, not city pockets. Unfair in collections should be eliminated. I could go on, but when we speak here on non-agenda items, we are timed to the very second and ignored on a self-appointed rule against Q&A. Rude and demeaning for taxpayers, the ones who pay your salaries. I close by a quote from philosopher Eric Hoffer. Rudeness is the weak man's imitation of strength.
Any other comments on non-agenda items?
Colin Galletley, 3580 Bermuda Drive, Irondale. And my subject is keep up the good work. And this is a shout of thanks to our city clerk. I've had conversations with her on the phone and in person. I pointed out just a couple of discrepancies on her webpage specifically, and she made the corrections to those. I made a comment also. I went to if you go to the Jefferson County website, you can go to, anyway, you can go through governments and you can find all the different cities. There are over 30 cities in Jefferson County that are listed as have the websites. Well, I saw 33 cities and Irondale was not listed. So I mentioned to her and she looked at me, and I'll have to quote her the best I can. She said, I don't know how to make that change, but she found a way. I don't know what she did, but she found a way. And I looked today and it's on there, and I do appreciate her hard work. Thank you.
Any other comments on non-agenda items? All right, with no more comments on non-agenda items, we will go ahead and get into the any reports of boards or non-council committees. Any reports of any boards or non-council committees? All right, fair enough. Let's see here. We're going to go ahead and move into the deliberation phase of our agenda items. One thing that I will say when it comes, once we approve this agenda item, once we approve this agenda with the various items on it, we often take public comments on agenda items at that time once it's approved. Since we have a public hearing on our rezoning request, I am going to ask that any public comments to the council on agenda items only for that rezoning be at the time of the public hearing. So we will not be accepting any public comments on agenda items only about the P&Z rezoning until we get to that public hearing. All right? Any other item is fair game. All right, item number 1. Resolve the resolution 2024 R86 allows the city of Irondale to participate in the 2024 back to school sales tax holiday beginning at 12:01 a.m. on Friday, July 19th, 2024, and ending at 12 midnight on Sunday, July 21st, 2024. Mayor Steele, we've done this before. Is there anything in particular you would like to say?
No, I don't have anything additional to add.
Councilman London?
No addition.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Just for the benefit of everyone here, this gives a break to many parents, guardians that whose children are going back to school. They get a break on taxes, so they save on the 10% tax, which is very helpful during these very difficult times. And it's why it's on our agenda. We've done this several years. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Box?
No questions or comments?
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
I'm good. Do we all agree to keep this on consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Item number 2. Stick with me on this. Resolve the resolution 2024-R-87 authorizes the payment of public funds to Freshwater Land Trust in the amount of $10,500 with $3,500 from the 23-24 fiscal year discretionary fund of Councilor Senator Cuellar. $3,500 from the 2023-24 fiscal year discretionary fund of Councilman David Spivey, $2,000 from the 23-24 fiscal discretionary fund of Councilor Robert Box, $1,000 from the 23-24 fiscal year discretionary fund of Councilman Aaron Sims, and $500 from the 23-24 fiscal year discretionary fund of Councilor John London to be used exclusively for the Grants Mill Trail Extension Project for the extension of the trail system in the city of Irondale. This is all ours. Councilman London, I'll lead with you. Anything that you would particularly care to say?
No comment.
Okay, Councilwoman Cuellar.
Well, gentlemen, and for the benefit of the people here, this was done last year when I spoke with the council members. Commissioner Joe Knight from Jefferson County gave us a $3,500 grant to be used for this project. Those funds are being paid to the environmental engineer that is working on the design. And this also is being applied. This is a great project that's being put on by the Cahaba River Society and, the Freshwater Land Trust. And we have a representative from the Freshwater Land Trust, Sam, who's here tonight. If you would like some updates from him, he can provide the council members with that. But I'm very excited because this is going, and I may be announcing probably in about 2 or 3 weeks another grant that has been committed for that to keep it going. So he's in the audience if you'd like to bring him forward.
Sam, is there anything that you would particularly care to say? Yeah, come on up.
My name is Sam McCullen. I'm the Stewardship Director at Freshwater Land Trust. And you mentioned when you read the description that this is at the trail and canoe launch at Grants Mill Road. So right now, like if you park at the parking lot and you head down towards the river, the trail goes only to the west. So you go down to the river and turn right. The Land Trust owns a lot of other property going both directions from where the current trail is. And so this is going to be the first step in extending the trail going to the east, so to the left from the parking lot. And like Councilwoman Cuellar mentioned, so the parcel that this trail extension occurs on has a very eroded tributary. And it's not good for trail purposes because that is difficult topography to build a trail on. It's not good for environmental purposes because it adds a lot of dirt to the Cahaba River, which is bad for the protected species there. So this money is being used in conjunction with some other funds from the Land Trust directly, as well as some money we received from the Westervelt Foundation. And it's going to do the engineering design of the stream restoration, which is kind of the first step in this process. First, we're going to restore the stream and make that parcel of land healthy. And then once that's accomplished, then we will construct the trail on it. So,
Fair enough. Councilman Box, any questions for the gentleman?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
Just one question. Is there a tentative amount of length of trail that y'all are looking to put in? Or how many miles or is that?
This section right here would be like a fairly short, I want to say it's maybe 800 to 1,000 feet.
Okay.
But we have our larger vision, like I said, we own several other parcels. And so the larger vision is that we'll extend the trail going both directions. So currently, I think there's about 3/4 of a mile of trail officially there. This would add another, I think 800,000 feet would be 0.1, 0.2 miles. But I think overall, we're talking probably a few miles of trail.
Excellent. Thank you.
And I don't have any questions. Thank you very much. We appreciate the work you do. All right. We agree to leave this on consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 3, resolve that resolution 2024 R-88 authorizes the opening of 2 classified positions through the Personnel Board of Jefferson County. These positions are number 1, Public Relations Manager, and number 2, Parks and Rec Director. Mayor Stewart, this has your name on it. I know that these are just openings. The anticipated salaries are funded, but is there anything that you would like to say about these?
Well, I would just like to answer probably a couple of questions about it. I guess I'll start out with the public relations manager's job. If you don't manage your image, other people will manage it for you. And I believe that is very important as we are at the crossroads of growing the city, that we're the ones that are responsible for being able to do that. And we want to be able to expand beyond just doing social media, because social media is not the only part to having to a public relations campaign. So we'd like to put together a very comprehensive approach where we're using media, social media, the written word, the city, I mean, everything that you can think of. But we need a person that knows how to be able to do that, to make sure that that happens here at the city. And we just don't want to haphazardly try to create something, but we want to make sure that we get the best to be able to hang with the best, because the city of Irondale is built different. The second position is for the having a director over the parks. We're spending $8.6 million to be able to build a brand new baseball field. And one of the things that you don't start programming for that field when you throw out the first pitch in April of 25. We want to start putting those processes in place now. We want to begin to put programs in place that our kids can begin to develop their skills. They can know about what's going on in the city of Irondale. We want to begin to put the program in place. Not only do we want to do baseball, but we also want to make sure that we focus on girls' sports as well. And if you haven't read my latest blog, I talked about how I believe that the city of Irondale is called to make sure that girls have an equal opportunity at sports just like the boys. So everything that we do here in the city, if we do it for the boys, we're going to do it or exceed it for the girls. But we want to just be able to put the programs, the process. We want to begin to recruit, because the kids will know that we will have a season here in the city. And hopefully the parents will not be taking them to other parks to be able to do that. So the earliest that we can start to be able to put the process, the programs, and put the foundation in place, I think that that will help us have a successful baseball season in 2025. And the more that we promote the city and we put out about what's going on in the city, I feel that it also grows the city. And when we get to the advertising piece, I'll show you all how important it is from a dollar perspective, that if you begin to advertise and talk to about your city, there's a great return, because people are coming in to be able to spend dollars.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Linden?
Well, yes, sports is what I do. Been doing all of my life, still continue to do that. And I've traveled all over the country, playing basketball and baseball and things like that, coaching it all over the country. And one thing I realized is that youth sports is big. I mean, this goes way beyond Irondale. I've seen teams get on airplanes to go fly to different states to play to baseball and basketball or whatever. Matter of fact, we just finished a tournament this weekend in Hoover, basketball, where it was almost 300 teams, girls basketball from all over the country. So we talk about revenue. This is a great revenue. If you get 200 teams coming here and playing baseball, they're gonna buy your food, might stay in your hotels. They're gonna buy gas. They're gonna do all that. They're gonna walk in your parks. They're gonna go to Ruffner. They're gonna do all kind of things. So, but you have to have somebody to lead that up. And so I'm excited about the position, and I hope we can find the right person to be able to do that.
Fair enough. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Thank you, Council President. I received several calls on both of these positions, and I actually started receiving them Thursday night when I was in Huntsville. And I took what was said and I asked, and this is not meant to be anti any of these positions, but I took these concerns and spoke with the municipal council members from Gulf Shores, Hueytown, Saraland, and Muscle Shoals. They were in our roundtable discussion. And their populations are 16,500 on up to 17,500. And I asked them if they had a public relations manager, and their response was no, because it's not justifiable for populations as small as ours. They said that public relations is the responsibility of the mayor and all the council members as elected officials. But once a city is about 40,000 or more, then that's when you need to focus on a public relations manager. But anything that's smaller than 40,000, it's a lot of money that you're spending here. And when I look at the job description, it's not just the public relations manager, but it's planning staff. It's doing a lot of things, a budget, annual budgetary limits. And I also looked at Trussville. They've got a population of 27,000. They don't have a public relations manager. Vestavia Hills with 38,000 doesn't have one, and neither does Homewood with 28,000. And our residents, my constituents, are concerned about so much expenditure that's going on and the lack of focus on revenue. We've got to generate the revenue before we can start doing these projects. We do have capital projects going on, but that's going to take 3 years down the road. And how many of these will generate revenue for us? They're talking about the baseball fields, but we're going to be competing against other municipalities, as Councilman London stated. They have hotels, better hotels than what we've got, many more. They've got several restaurants. So we're competing with all of that. And so it needs to be planned correctly. And that's why I have a reservation on the public relations manager. As far as our Parks and Recreation director, I thought this was Alfred Menefield. Alfred Menefield's doing a wonderful job working with the Parks and Recreation. And I'm just at a loss as to why we're creating another position when we've got Alfred Menefield. And I don't have a problem with hiring someone to help Alfred, but let's be fiscally responsible in everything that we do. And so I'm speaking based on the calls that I receive from our constituents. We've got to be much more fiscally responsible. This is putting the cart before the horse. And it's for that reason that I've got some reservations, and I'm not really sold on this. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Councilman Box?
Thank you, Mr. President. Had quite a bit of discussion with the mayor around this, and first off, I'd just like to ask April, could we remove, say, the public relations manager from this resolution, but keep the Parks and Recreations director when we make the motions to move it forward? Okay. I do think that a public relations director is in order. I just don't think the timing is appropriate for that. I'd rather see that come in the New Year's budget or after more of our projects are done. There's definitely differences of opinions there. Some people say strike now while the iron's hot, but I think our iron is hot right now. I think the mayor's doing a great job. I think Miss Emma Talbert is doing a great job, working quite a bit outside of her purview. So I'd like to see a little bit of maybe modification there, you know, to helping her out, because she does a whole lot more than just the mayor's personal assistants, which everybody claims on. So my comments are, I'd like to see the public relations manager put off for a while, but the park and recreation director.
Fair enough. Councilman Sims?
I didn't catch, did you say these were already funded, or,
The anticipated salaries for both positions are funded.
so they were already in the budget?
That is accurate. And these are obviously the intent is to, let me stop your clock real quick. Obviously the intent is to fill these positions at some point, but we are not filling them at this moment. We are simply opening the position, if that helps you at all.
Gotcha. I don't have any questions at the moment.
Okay. Come back around for second round. Councilwoman Cuellar has made her intentions clear on that. Obviously, this would not be going on consent as presented. Do we have a suggestion on how this will be presented, or do you just want to do it at the time of movement?
Well, I do have a follow-up. We do have a
We
round
can do
where
a second round.
follow-
I just wanted to see before we get into a second round,
Okay.
if we wanted to go ahead and have a strategy in place. Are we going to separate these two items? Would the good of the body feel that one should be removed and the other one continues? So Councilman London, what say you?
Well, let me ask I can ask the mayor the question. Follow up what you feel. I mean, this is your baby. I'd like to hear from him.
I put them on the agenda. My preference is that you all vote it up or down. Either you vote for it or you don't, and we'll move forward
we gonna
either
do?
way.
It's our call.
I understand. Councilman Cuellar, are you asking for an
Yeah,
amendment?
I just am wondering, what is Alfred Minifield's position?
Oh, I'm so happy that you brought that. I didn't even have to butt in to speak about it. First of all, Alfred Minifield is an assistant public works director. He is not the individual that he's not a programmer for youth sports because we don't have any youth sports going on right now. So he assists Frank Pennington with the day-to-day operations as a public works director. He does not do anything with programming of baseball, basketball, softball. That's not his job description. He's a public works director.
Right, I'd like to respond to that because when we met with Sam McCoy, when we were talking about the Grants Mill Trail extension, Alfred Minifield was introduced to us as the Parks and Recreation guy, the guy that we're going to be going to whenever we have any questions. And that's why I was confused, because it was my understanding that he was the Parks and Recreation go-to guy. And Frank Pennington was going to be working with the Public Works Department. So I appreciate the mayor's clarification on that.
Okay. Councilwoman, can I just respond? Public Works is broken up into two parts. Frank manages a part of Public Works, and Mr. Minifield manages a part of Public Works. It just happened that the Park and Rec side of it falls up under Mr. Minifield as the assistant public director, but he's not the recreational director for the city.
Does that conclude your second round of
Yes,
comments?
it does. Thank you.
Okay. While you still have a little time on the clock, are you making a recommendation about how this would like to be, or do you want to do that at the time we're upon that item?
Well, no, my constituents and others have spoken on this issue, and I'll be voting in accord with what they've asked.
Copy that.
Thank you.
Councilman Box?
Really have no additional comments. I've mentioned that I would like to pull the public relations manager off for a future date and move forward with the Parks and Rec. I did appreciate the mayor's clarification. I had always thought Mr. Menifee was an assistant director of public works, but kind of the go-to guy if work is being performed at, and what I mean work, maintenance work or construction work, not operational work where sports goes. So that's good clarification there, Mayor, that he's not involved in sports. He's just there for operational maintenance. That's all.
So, Councilman Sims?
Who would these two positions report to, or where would they fall under?
They would both report to me.
Council President Spivey, there was one comment that I forgot to mention.
You
Is that
had
all
time
right?
on the clock, so
Okay,
please.
thank you. When I was called about this, there was a concern expressed by some residents. They saw this on Indeed. These positions were advertised on Indeed, and I was taken aback. I'm like, what? Their positions, they're on Indeed? The council doesn't even know about this. Why are these positions being advertised before coming to the council and then getting the approval and then putting them on Indeed. These are the things that are troubling because we can't be having these kinds of things going on when it is a council that has to decide on these things
Thank you,
before
Councilwoman
anyone
Cuellar.
goes out to advertise on Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With no more deliberation on this item, we'll go ahead and move it to the regular. And then when we come upon this item for movement, then I would just ask someone to present it in the manner that they feel obliged to present it in. Fair enough? Okay.
Did you have any weigh in on either?
I'm gonna go with the body. I know the mayor's desire. I think my any feelings about this align with Councilman London. I appreciate the ask, but I will move with the body. All right, let's see here. So item number 3 will move to regular. Item number 4 on regular. Resolve the resolution 2024 R89 authorize Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. or his designee to execute an agreement with Sinclair Broadcast Group LLC in an amount not to exceed $108,150 even for a 12-month brand awareness campaign. Mayor Stewart?
Thank you, Council President. Everyone knows that earlier this year, maybe towards the end of the year, that the city adopted a brand new brand. And the best way to be able to promote your brand is to be able to get your brand out over the airwaves to be able to do that. I've talked to several of the media outlets that we have here in our area, and I've determined that at the present time, as we are moving forward with getting the word out about the city of Irondale, that Sinclair Broadcasting Group would be the best group to be able to provide the city with that service. Now we talk about, and I know some people say, well, you know, it's $108,000. You know, that's a lot of money. But have you ever heard the adage, you have to spend money to be able to make money? What I wanted to do is to be able to share with you all how the Auto Mall campaign has went so far, to be able to give you a baseline to be able to determine if this would be worth it or if it would not be worth it. According to our city clerk, she pulled me a report, and what we did, we ran an analysis of the Auto Mall. We took what was generated in 23 and we took what has been generated in 24 since we started the campaign in November, which Sinclair Broadcasting is a part of that campaign as well. And this year, at the end of March, the first 6 months of the year, we've generated $602,000 more this year than we did from last year. I will drop the mic at that point, and I have nothing else to say. $602,000 more by putting an ad campaign together, $108,000 to be able to do the same thing by promoting the small businesses in the community, the events that we have going on in the community, drawing more people to come into the community. And also I want to say, this is not something that I just came up with last week, because if you were at the State of the City, if you were one of those 250 people that showed up to be able to hear the State of the City sold out at Church of the Highlands, you would have heard me talking about the way that we're going to grow the city of Irondale. We're going to be able to do it through the media, and I feel like this is the group to be able to do it. If you have any questions, they're out there in the audience. We have Brooke, who I've been working with, and we also have Jennifer, who is the general manager that also resides in Grants Mill Valley. So if you have any questions, they're here to answer your questions tonight.
Okay. If one of y'all or both of y'all would join us at the podium. Councilman London, any questions?
No. What you just done, right?
I'm sorry?
They are part of it. They are part of the 602,000 that we've been able to generate through the Auto Mall campaign.
Right. From you guys? No question.
Okay. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes, I would like to make some comments on the ad campaign with the Auto Mall. The goal there was to, if they would sell one more car per month, it would generate revenue for the city. So you're selling a high-end luxury car, and it's good news. We thought that this would be the fruit of that by doing this, and I'm happy to hear about that because it was based on the sale of high-end luxury cars. This one here, we're talking about a brand, and we're talking about our business community here that's been mentioned. And I receive calls on this one also from constituents and others. And this one is a challenge. You are able to sell your brand when you are working with the business community, hearing what it is that they are saying, listening to their employees. This is how you make an image, a positive image, a good image. And when the occupational license fee was implemented, it harmed our relationship with the business community and with all of the workers in Irondale. We have had to try to restore that trust and credibility. And we first need to focus on that, because no matter how much money you spend on advertising, if you are not reaching out and reestablishing your credibility and your trustworthiness with the people that matter in your city, we're going to continue to lose business. So it's not an issue of branding and awareness campaign. It is an issue of restoring our credibility and doing what we can to bring in the business when that credibility is restored. This is what this was about. This is all about. It's about having that relationship, going to restaurants and talking to the minimum wage earner in the restaurants. They know that we are council members. I'm listening to what they're saying. This matters. The Sam McCoy just came up, talked about the Grants Mill extension. That is based on listening to residents and what it is that they want. And I want to thank Jenny Brown for all that she's been doing at Grants Mill and throughout. She's been a great resource, a great asset. I hope you're happy with all the news that we're doing with the Freshwater Land Trust. But this is how you do it. You go out and you talk with people, and it involves listening to what they're saying. And it involves compassion and understanding. And it's for this reason that I'm listening to what my constituents are saying that I'm having difficulty with this one as well. Those are my comments.
Fair enough. Councilman Box?
Very exciting what the mayor said of how our ad campaign for the automobile is generated. Really, it's almost generated enough to pay for this resolution, be it budgeted or unbudgeted. I would say that most of the phone calls I've received and emails have requested to do away with it or to postpone it. I would think that the mayor's already made a promise that we're going to be lowering the occupational license fee in July. I'd like to see this come back in August, is what I'd like to see. If that's, it's up to the body. Let's put it to a vote. And I think it's a great idea, but I think the timings may be a little aggressive. But hey, the mayor's always said we're built different. So let's see what happens.
Councilman Sims?
Thank y'all for coming. This 108,000, obviously it'll include airtime. I'm assuming does this also include the production of whatever this spot is?
Yes, it does.
So it's this money, it covers creating the spot, it airing for how long?
It's a year.
Okay,
It's
1 year
over a
from
year.
whenever it starts.
And it's a multi-platform campaign, so you would see commercials both on television as well as online and streaming. Similar to the Automall campaign.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining this evening. Geographic targets. I mean, how are you going to be, what kind of demographics, what kind of analytics are you using in order to, I guess, cast your net, for lack of better terms? And you mentioned it was multi-platform, but give us an idea of maybe what that might kind of look like.
Sure. I think prior conversations with the mayor, there are several different areas to focus on. One is attracting folks to Irondale. So folks that are looking to move and make their home in this community. But it's also to highlight the events that are happening in the community as well as the businesses. So depending on the seasonality throughout the course of the year and what's being focused on, the tactics would change and the message would change. You know, there would be an overarching campaign, a commercial, if you will, that you would see across our television stations about the city itself. But then as the specific events change throughout the year, we would customize that message and use different tactics. So we could be more geographically focused if we were trying to target people specifically in our Irondale, for example, or if we were trying to broaden that net, if you will, and bring in people from other areas. We also would look at streaming. So if you were not watching ABC 3340 or one of the other television stations, but you're actually streaming, then commercials would air there as well.
Fair. Thank you. All right,
May I make a comment?
please.
As the mayor said, I am the new general manager at ABC 3340 and Sinclair Broadcast Group, but I'm also speaking to you as an Irondale citizen. So I moved here to the state of Alabama just in February. And I am so excited to be here in Irondale. But I do want to share something with you. When we moved here and I started to ask around, where should we go? What city should we look in? Should I look in Iredale? Should I look in Bessemer? Should I look in Vestavia? Where should I look? My husband and I. And very often I would hear the comment, don't go to Iredale. Don't go to Bessemer. Now, I don't know why they said that to me, but I heard that over and over. And so we were looking for a place to live, and we came driving up to Irondale, and we stopped at Publix, and we stopped a father and son walking out of the store and said, hey, do you live here? And they said, we do. We said, well, tell us about your community. And he was a wonderful ambassador, and he had fabulous things to say. And so we ended up moving here in Irondale. But if I can respectfully say, we do have a branding problem. And I think if we're trying to attract more people into our city, it's important for us to share that, how wonderful the things are that you all are doing here in Irondale. So I say that as a citizen, not necessarily as a representative of Sinclair, but you get both in me. So there you go.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you. All right. So that is on the regular agenda. So we'll move that through the process. Let's see here. For the just
Is that,
as it moves, it's an unbudgeted item, so it's a resolution, but it would go through these 3-step ordinance process. Item number 5, resolve the resolution 2024 R90, authorize Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. or his designee to execute an agreement with. Pronounce that for me, Mayor, or do you know how
What's that?
the item? Viola?
Viola.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. WTS Systems USA Inc. in an amount not to exceed $95,000 for a multi-stage reverse osmosis and dynamic single-state reverse osmosis pilot scale demonstration. I know what a few of those words mean, but not all of them put together in a sentence. Is Mr. Jared with us this
He's
evening?
right there.
Okay, perfect. If you could come on up, sir. Before we get into questions, if you just want to tell us what we're talking about.
Yeah, so this is the resolution under this. It kind of goes with the same thing. It's from Avoquia. Viola is just it's a vendor. They offer 2 different types of RO. Basically, it's an old school method and a new school method. There's pre-filtration that has to happen as well. That's budgeted in here to remove some of the iron. And then the second resolution is a different brand. So if we do move to RO, that will allow us to have, on bid day, we'll have 2 people that are able to come and bid on this. That's why there's 2 different pilots from 2 different companies.
Thank you. Councilman London?
Yeah, so what are you looking to find from this test?
Sir?
What outcome are you looking for this test?
To see how it acts with groundwater, as well as what media, if it's the dynamic single stage, that's the best producing, or if it's the newer method that we move to. So there's different methods of RO, and so we're trying to figure out what our water does best with, because it's a very expensive build. So we want to make sure that we get this right from the beginning. Like what pre-filtration we have to have is that green sand filters, that's pressure filters, before it even gets to the RO, and then we'll move on from that.
Right. So how long do you think would it take? How long would it take?
They are planning, they said we could have this in the last quarter of this year. There's a substantial need for these things right now. I mean, it could be, I think, 3 months, 6 months. I mean, it could be, just depends on what the breakthrough is of how this thing works with groundwater. There's not a lot of systems that use groundwater for RO. So this is kind of a new thing. If it was off the Coosa River, there would be a lot of historical data that you could use that we could pull from other systems, but groundwater running through RO is not something that is common right now with this PFAS. So PFAS has made a lot of people move to groundwater to go to the RO to get the PFAS out.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes, on page 7, when we're looking at the multi-reverse osmosis, just so that I'm clear, you're talking about you would start about 3 months?
No,
This
it was
would-
in about October is, I think.
It
when
would be
they're saying-
October, because I saw on page 20 the reverse osmosis pilot. That was in October. So you're saying both will start in October?
Yes, ma'am. With our goal is, because these things come in Connex boxes, 53-foot long.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal is to try to have everything, and we have to lift those off those 18-wheeler trailers. So we're trying to coordinate and have one crane out there at one time, take delivery of all of it, run it, and then send it back in one time. That's our goal.
Okay.
But it
And-
all depends on availability as well.
Okay, so in October, we're looking at 14 weeks for the piloting, and we'll begin to see, the pilot will be in operation in weeks 8 to 13. So if we start in October, the pilot will be in operation 8 to 13, in weeks 8 to 13.
That is one of the methods, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it'll then begin in operation in November.
Well,
Once you get it.
Single stage
Yeah.
RO that we'll be piloting.
Mhm.
There's also the dynamic stage that we'll be piloting. Then we may pilot GAC behind the RO. So I mean, there's a complex. So to try to tell you exactly the time frame, it's
Yeah, I was
it's very
reading through it, and
complicated.
it's why I was wanting some clarification on it. That helps me a lot. Thank you.
Councilman Box?
I know, I'm pretty clear on what he's doing.
Okay. Councilman Sims?
No questions.
And I'm good as well. Thank you very much, sir. Item number 6, he's already lightly touched on that. Were there any questions, Councilman Lennon, on item number 6?
No question.
Well, you know, what, for the benefit of the room, let me read it. I apologize. Resolve the resolution 2024 R91 authorizes Mayor James Ducey Jr. or his designee to execute an agreement with Evoqua Water Technologies LLC in amount not to exceed $98,000 for a reverse osmosis pilot study. Still no comments, Councilman London?
No question. No.
Okay. Councilwoman Cuellar?
Just question, looking on page 15, the term for this is 3 months for Jared. When would this begin?
Is that a similar answer?
Similar, October as well? All right,
so it'll be, if that's just a brand or vendor.
okay. And when the pilots, both piloting, whichever one we go through, once they are finished and completed, what happens then?
Then those units go back. We have the data to figure out how we want to move forward, depending on circumstances that fall.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Box?
No, he explained everything to my satisfaction. Thank you.
Councilman Sims?
Are these budgeted items?
They need to go through, they will remain resolutions, but they will go through the ordinance process, both of them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. All right, and I have no comments or questions on that. Item number 7, let's see here. Ordained that ordinance 2024-07 amends chapter 2, article 4 of the municipal code of the city of Irondale related to the city council procedures. Councilwoman Cuellar, we discussed this in your ordinance meeting a few weeks back. Would you care to introduce this item?
Yes, what I took was during our ordinance committee meeting, going from pages 1 to 3, that is where we stopped. I confirmed it with legal. Lauren was our city attorney during this time, and I took what the council was in agreement on and put this so that we could go on and pass this, and then we'll finish the remaining ordinance, the remaining parts in the ordinance later in the year, because we've got a lot of things scheduled. But I figured, let's do what we've done so far and go on and amend that ordinance, and then we'll come back and we'll tackle the remaining pages.
With your remaining 3 minutes that you have on the clock, is there anything that you want to comment on about this proposed ordinance?
Yes, on section 2-132, the city council should consist of 5 council members. It did say mayor, but because our population is now above 12,500, it now consists of 5 council members. That was the only change that took place there. The rules of order, section 2-148, this was a recommendation made by our legal counsel, and the rest of the council members were fine with it. And so we changed that to say, and otherwise adopted by resolution of the city council. That is the only addition that was made on that first sentence. Going down to section 2 dash, I believe it was 2-150. We added the sentence, in the interest of time, during the regular city council meeting, when there are several items on the council's agenda, the city council may hold pre-council meetings. That is the only addition that I'm seeing there that we added. And then the paragraph that followed, legal counsel recommended that we delete that entire paragraph, and we went on with that because the body was good with it. Looking at section, I think it was 2-154. Let's see if we had, yes, on 2-154, the last, I think it was 8 sentences, legal recommended that we delete that because it's not necessary. The council president does it anyway, and we were all good with that, so we deleted that. And then on section 2-155, section A, we just removed the word the city clerk and it states the department heads. Contract professionals, on the next paragraph, we added the words by the council. And we deleted the sentence that followed. Legal recommended removing that sentence, and we did that. And we begin with when requested to attend. Looking at B, section B, legal suggested that we add one sentence or one part of a sentence on line 1, 2, 3, 4 that states, or as otherwise provided by law. So we added that, and that is where we stopped. And those are the only amendments that were made.
Fair enough. Councilman Box?
On this ordinance, the only thing I really saw had a problem with is the levying a fine against a council person that is absent for anything other than sickness or extended illness or injury. Would that mean that if I was absent, do I have to bring a doctor's excuse to prove I was sick? I mean, I think that's a little elementary on there. I don't know if that came from amendments or if that was already existing in our ordinance. If it was, that needs to be addressed because I feel that's kind of elementary there. And number one, how are you going to enforce something like that? That's my only comments. I don't have a problem with the rest of it.
Fair enough. Councilman Sims?
Just to respond to Councilor Box, that's always been in there. I don't think it's ever really been enforced, but I think it has something to do with, there's some state code too. I'm agreement with everything, except for the 150 pre-council meetings. I just don't understand the first sentence, in the interest of time during the regular city council meeting, when there are several items on the council's agenda. I think it just say the city council may hold a pre-council meeting. It's just straight to the point. It's a pre-council meeting header. I don't know why we have to talk about a council meeting in that sentence. I think it confuses it.
Well, when we discussed it, Councilman Sims.
One moment. One moment. Does that conclude your comments, Councilman Sims?
Yeah, everything I'm good except for that sentence.
Okay. Coming back around. Councilman London?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I agree with Sims on that last part, and I also agree with Box on the fine, because here's the thing. This is a part-time job. I do work, and the council meeting used to meet on Wednesdays, and this council decided to go back on Tuesday. So there's going to be some time I miss because of work. There's going to be some time I miss because of my profession, funerals and things like that I perform. So it's got to be, he's got to be taken out. And I pray to God that we don't fine the council for missing a meeting, and I know the state code says that if you 90 days that a councilman is gone, that's state law. That's state law. But for as this is concerned, I like to see that removed. That part removed, the fines, and also changing what Councilman Sims says. I agree with him on that part of it.
Does that conclude your second round comment, sir?
That was my first round.
Okay.
You went straight to her first.
She presented and then you moved. to me.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. Thank you. That's what happens when we get out of order, right?
No, you're good.
All right. So
You're
yes,
good.
sir.
You're
Please. Does that conclude your first round of
That was my
comments?
first round.
Okay. Copy that. Councilwoman Cuellar?
When we discussed this at the council meeting, that sentence, in the interest of time, again, the reason that we decided to leave it in is because, again, it gives the presiding officer that authority to go on and say that. We've had several items on agenda, and the reason for adding that, in the interest of time, is to help the council in having a pre-council meeting before to cover all of these items so that we conduct the business of the city during a regular council meeting at 6 o'clock. We're not here until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, going through what could have been covered during a pre-council meeting. And that was why we said the words, in the interest of time. And it's the presiding officer, the council president, may call a pre-council meeting. That's where that came from, and the majority of the body was fine with it. That's why I left it in there.
Any other comments on your second round?
Yes, on the we're talking about the fine. That has been in there. That was not something that we added. It has been in there. I see no problem with it. We have never fined a council member. We are a very compassionate, understanding body. But yeah, it's good to have it in there in case it's abused. But with Councilman London, we understand that he's got basketball games, that he's got other commitments. No one's ever going to call and want this thing enforced because he's got his commitments. So we're respectful of that. But this was in there long before we came, and it's just a safeguard. And it does cite the Alabama Code, the state law. So I have no problem with it. And adding the sentence "or otherwise provided by law," which is what our legal team recommended, that takes care of it.
Councilman Box, second round, if needed. Is that
As I
needed?
said, we didn't make it to that paragraph on the ordinance committee.
Right.
Yeah, we did.
Time's sake. We did
Mhm.
make it to that? Okay, well, my recollection was we didn't make it to that. I still just don't think that's needed. That's a little academic. It may have been there before, but why would we need to find somebody? And quite frankly, then, I'm sick. Well, you need to prove you're sick. You need to bring a doctor's excuse. So it's just, it's a rule that, how many steps are we going to take to enforce it when we already know that if a council person begins to be absent for an extended amount of time, they're gonna be, someone else is gonna be seated in.
Fair enough. Councilman Sims, parting shots?
I agree with Council Quayer on the fines. I mean, it says may impose. I think it's just there as a safeguard. If someone just refused to show up at council meetings for however long, I think maybe we might talk about things. But again, like I said, it's never been used. It's always been there, and I'm fine with it. And on the, scroll back up here, pre-council meetings, again, pre-council meetings, I just think it should say the city council may hold a pre-council meeting to discuss the agenda items. It doesn't need to, I don't know, just the way that it references a city council meeting, and then it just sounds confusing. Maybe it could be worded differently, but I just think just straight to the point, the city council may hold a pre-council meeting, and then the rest of the sentence stays as it's been.
Fair enough. And so for my second round, I will agree with pretty much everything that's been said out here. I don't have a problem with really much of anything. Let me start my timer on myself. Let's see here. In regards to, in the interest of time, I appreciate what you're saying, lean it out and everything. Not a hill I'm willing to die on, so I'll go with the body on that one. In regards to the 212-155 attendance subsection B, obviously, everyone has heartburn around a fee or anything of that nature. It's got may in there, to Councilman Sims' point, so I really don't care. It states the state code. What I do want to, so there's some ambiguity in there, which I'm fine with, because it's not saying that this will happen, it's saying this may happen. Where I do have an issue is, like, let's say, so we're writing the playbook for not just ourselves, but our the people that come, behind us, and on and on and on until they take this up. You could get, I don't know what your personal opinions of me are, but you could get someone that is very hard-nosed on rule enforcement as written, and the except in cases of sickness or extended illness. I do feel that the words, work reasons, vacation. We homeschool. We can go on vacation whenever we want, and we do that, So my thing would be, if we get an awesome deal on a Disney cruise, I gotta go, So I mean, it is what it is. So I think that yes, sickness, illness, extending amongst your family members, obviously understood there. But I do have a little heartburn with work and vacation plans not being in there. And I respect Councilwoman Cuellar's view on the fact that we wouldn't do this, but the only part of it is we are here for a short moment. Right. There could be other administrations that follow us that may choose to be so legalistic. That's the end of my time, and we've exceeded our second round. So I would just say, let's introduce it as we introduce it.
Attorney, question?
I got my second round.
Oh, yes, you do have your second round. God, that's what happens when you start off balanced, man. All right, 2 minutes, sir, please.
But I totally agree. This is not, I don't sit and say you guys find me, or I will find. I will never find you. I'm gonna say that. Let me speak for myself. I will never find you. But what about the councils after us? That's what we're talking about. That's who we're dealing with. What about the council? Because I serve on the council that would have found you. I serve on one that would have found you. They could have done it any time. I'm just putting it out there. That I serve on a council like that, with a mayor like that. So that's my experience. So I like to see it out, because I don't want the next person that comes after me to be worried about being fined because he missed a meeting. And also your language you talked about, I'd like to see that added in here for those.
Thank you. Does that conclude your comment, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when it moves, if it'll just be introduced accordingly to the will of the person doing the moving. Okay. All right. And then we're not going to get into the public hearing or comments on the public hearing until we get to the public hearing through the flow of the movement of the various items. So that being said, we've deliberated everything other than the public hearing, which is what it is. So at this time, I would ask for a motion on the approval of the form of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the form of the agenda.
Second.
Is that including item number 3, moving from consent to regular?
Yes.
Well, I thought we usually do that on a second step, but yeah, that's
Fair
fine.
enough.
We could do that.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now that we have a approved agenda, we would accept any comments on agenda items only.
Yes, thank you. I'm a little bit concerned about people taking credit. People taking credit for what might not be what they generated. When someone goes back in time and looks at how much money the city of Irondale received, and then goes for the first quarter of this year, $602,000, and you think, oh, the advertisement is the only reason. Well, there are multiple reasons. I mean, there's no way that if this was true, the auto mall would have done this years ago. Think about that. How those dealers, how many millions of dollars they would have made per year if they'd done what we are doing now. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not sure how much it was generating because of the ads, but nowhere near the full amount. The second thing on that is I'd like a way to do this is to go to some of the dealerships, whichever ones you pick out, and give them a little questionnaire that they can have their salespeople ask the question, how did you hear about this dealership? Well, if they say the advertisement, that's good. But how many? 1 out of 10? Okay, one last thing. I did a search. You'll love this.
Council President,
I saw the advertisement.
Council
We're gonna
President,
pause you.
I saw
Let
the
him-
advertisement.
Let's give the
Council
gentleman
President.
his
I
2
saw the
minutes.
advertisement.
That was not
and I
an
did
agenda
a search. Irondale Luxury Auto Mall.
I'm gonna need to
Alabama.
pause you. I need to pause you. I had promotion in the back of my mind. Are you speaking about the promotion that is on the
I'm talking
PR?
about, I'm talking about this.
I thought that's what he
particular
was
item
talking
four.
about.
This
He's
item number
just
4.
referencing the auto mall as a comparison.
Yes, it's a comparison.
I'll allow that.
Okay, thank you. But if you go Irondale Luxury Auto Mall, Alabama, the first thing comes up is Birmingham Luxury Motors. And the second thing comes up is Alabama Auto Mall. And then I went through and not even all the dealerships show up. We need to tell Alabama Auto Mall Association, they need to come up with a website. I mean, there's something here on YouTube and whatever. So that's 2 recommendations I just made. That will help.
Fair enough. Thank you for your comments. Comments on agenda items only. Let's try to keep them to the agenda item and not go too far away from the agenda item if we could. Thank you.
Hey, Bavona, Grants Mill Valley. I want to reiterate what I mentioned last council meeting, that state of Alabama has $375 million from the nation's infrastructure bill, as all states do. $375 million for water upgrades alone. I ask that you strongly apply or reapply to Montgomery, work with Rep. Dubose, and get some of that money for all the anticipated actions that we talk about on water. And I want to mention again, the city of Lafayette, Louisiana, earlier this year was able to acquire from the state of Louisiana $5 or $6 million as a portion of the state's contribution for a completely new water treatment facility. Can't be last to the trough. You got to be proactive. And I'm just stating again, hopefully you would consider this, because it's our tax money, our federal tax money that's filtered down to all the states. Dubose, Representative Dubose, I'm sure certainly is aware of it, but it's $375 million just for water upgrades. You know, I hope you take that seriously and apply to Montgomery for that work.
Thank you. Any other comments on agenda items only? All right, with no other comments on agenda items only, we will go ahead and move through the process. Do we have an approval for the consent agenda?
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda, which has removed item 3.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right. Item number 3, formerly on consent, now on regular. If we could get a motion on a resolution 2024 R88.
Motion 2024 R88 be moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll go and roll call just to make sure we heard everybody. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No.
Councilman Box?
No.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you. All right. Item number 4 on the irregular agenda, that was the resolution 2024 R89. And once again, resolution ordinance process.
I make a motion that we postpone Resolution 2024-R-89, as Councilman Box recommended, during the month of August, if not later.
We have a motion.
Is that something we can do during this process?
We can.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
We have a motion. Do we have a second on that?
Did your motion include readdressing it in August?
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. We'll go roll call on this. Councilman London?
No.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
No.
And no. Do we have anybody that would like to represent this agenda item?
Make a motion that 2024 R89 be moved.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Roll call, Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No.
Councilman Box?
No.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Do you want to continue with the process on this since it is a ordinance agenda format?
Make a motion that resolution 2024 R89 be considered read.
Second.
Motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Roll call, Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
No.
Councilman Box?
Will it be read?
Okay. Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes, but I believe we have a non-unanimous
That's
no
correct.
on the reading. Is that correct,
That's
Councilwoman Cuellar? You said no to the,
When we get to the second step, I'd like to make a motion that I change that to a yes on the
okay,
reading.
gotcha, because we are on the second step currently.
You're on the second step. No.
Yes.
No.
Okay, so you're not agreeing to that second phase?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Let me just catch up real quick. All right, item number 5, resolution 2024 R90, resolution ordinance process.
Make a motion that resolution 2024 R90 be considered read.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to suspend all rules that will prevent the immediate consideration of resolution 2024 R90.
Second.
Motion, second, roll call. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Make a motion that resolution 2024 R90 be adopted and approved.
Second.
Second.
Motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes. Item number 6 would be resolution 2024 R94, resolution ordinance process, please.
Make a motion that resolution 2024-R-91 be considered read.
Second.
Motion, second, all in favor?
Aye. I make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of resolution 2024-R-91.
Second.
Motion, second, roll call. Councilman Linden?
Discussion. Only if the language of the fines be removed.
Oh, we're not to that one yet.
We're not
We're
on,
not-
no, we're on the
Okay.
second
yes.
water.
Well, yes.
Cool,
Yes.
perfect. But noted, going
Yes.
forward.
Okay.
All right, so we're in the second phase. We had a motion, we had a second. Councilman London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes,
Councilman Box?
I made it.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And then myself, yes, thank you.
I
All right,
make a
and then
motion.
finally,
I make a motion that resolution 2024-R91 be adopted and approved.
Second.
a motion,
Discussion.
second, all in favor?
Got a
Aye.
discussion. With that being removed, right? The language.
We're on 6, sir. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Yes.
you're focusing
I'm
on item
sorry.
number 7.
Put that on my
So,
head. I'm sorry.
but we are here now at item number 7, so
I
we
thought we
are,
went through that one. Okay. My bad. Sorry.
all right.
Sorry.
Item number 7, let's recenter. All right, we are at item number 7, looking for movement on ordinance 2024-07.
I make a motion that ordinance 2024-07 be considered read.
Motion? Do we have a second on that motion as pursued? Now, did that include any of the update? Councilman London's comment about the language was reflecting my initial comments
Discussion.
about the additional reasons for tardiness.
Yeah, and one of the things is the ordinance committee chair, there were comments that were made about future administrations. This ordinance has been on the books, the way it's been written, for many years. And so an ordinance committee chair can change that language if there happens to be the situation that Councilman London described. So future administrations are not going to be impacted if they don't want to have that language.
So you are
So
moving
it's
it
been there forever,
so you're moving it as is.
as is, for
Okay.
the reasons I've just stated.
I understand. Just wanted to clarify for the record. So it has been introduced as presented without any of the amendments that we have proposed or discussed on this dais.
With one amendment,
Okay.
and that is, if the body wants to remove the language for the pre-council meeting, I'm fine with that. If the body wants to go with that, and
Well,
just
just
start
go
out
ahead
with
and make the
council.
introduction, and we'll let the chips fall where they've.
Okay, let me get that one. I make a motion that ordinance 2024 be amended by striking the language in section 2-150, the language being, in the interest of time during the regular city council meeting, when there are several items on the council's agenda, that we strike it up until the council's agenda, and we begin with the city council may hold pre-council meetings to discuss
Fair enough.
the agenda.
So we have movement on that ordinance.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
No. Okay. Can we proceed to the second round on that? I didn't think so, right?
Not if it's
just-
considered read.
It says
It's
needed
not,
majority
it's
of
not
those
being
present.
considered read. Okay. So that just needs to stop. Okay, got it. Just wanted clarity.
Yeah, we
Got
can
it.
bring it back.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, a lot of times we shut it down in the second. I just wanted to double check
No, I'll shut it
process. All
down
right?
first.
I
Fair
thought-
enough.
I thought you just needed a majority of those present for the first part.
That's why I conferred with legal that if it's not considered read unanimously,
have
because our process is a little larger than some of our other processes around. A lot of municipalities will read it, but not attempt to take action. We have a consolidated process which allows us to read it and take action at the same moment. Therefore, it must unanimously be considered read. Did I articulate that correctly?
But you can have it go forward with someone objecting to it being considered read, because technically you don't actually need to vote for that.
Okay.
It can be considered read.
That's what I thought.
The next step would actually
Be unanimous.
unanimous.
Okay. Well, since we can proceed, all right,
Yes.
we'll move on to the second round.
I make a motion that ordinance 2024-07 with the noted amendment in section 2-150, that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2024-07.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Councilman London,
No.
Councilwoman Cuellar,
Yes.
Councilman Box,
Yes.
Councilman Sims,
Yes.
and I will vote yes as well. Okay, fair enough. Next time. All right. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move towards our public hearing. What I would like to do, council, in respect to the public hearing, we're going to go ahead and take a listen to any presenters. We will go ahead and get our questions out of the way with the presenter, and then we will open up the public hearing and hear from the public. So that being said, in regards to ordinance 2024 that rezones the property located at 6085 Old Leeds Road, Irondale, Alabama 35210, from an institutional institutional district to a C1 commercial district. Do we have anyone to present that item with us?
I make a motion, we leave regular council meeting and go into a public hearing.
We're going to go ahead and we're going to take our opportunities to hear from them first.
Okay.
Yep. I was advised on legal to handle it a little
That
bit
happens before the
differently.
hearing.
Exactly. We're still going to enter public hearing. This is going to be for us first.
Got it.
All right. We have someone to present this item.
Not, No.
Is this presenting
No.
the item or is
No.
this
No.
speaking for or against?
Mi-
We're going to go ahead and we're going to hear the presenter, the people that
Oh,
are
Mr.
advocating for this.
So this needs to be. the
This needs to be
presenter
Trey in your group.
Bringing forth his plans. and
Yes.
his Explanations to the council.
Well, I'm speaking for it, but I've got some concerns.
Well, no, I understand, but that's fine. We would like to hear from the presenter first.
Good evening. It's been a long night.
Good evening.
Didn't think we was gonna be here this long. See everybody still here. Hey, I don't want to really get into the plans of just what the building's gonna be and all of that because that's public works. But I will get into some things that I've just done over the last 4 days. I went to Shady Valley High School. The reason I went, I had 8 students ask me to come. Why did they ask me to come? Because they're training I Am Love Fitness. Coach, I want you to come see me walk across the stage.
Council
So I
President
Can
Spivey.
you make sure that you're speaking
Can
into
you-
the mic?
Yes, thank
For a
you.
variety of reasons.
All right. So I said, of course I'll come see you walk across the stage. And that's the reason I went to see them graduate. Not because they just graduated, but because they trained in my gym for the last couple of years. All right. Not only that, I got some more graduations info. Today, I went to the middle school. I watched 7 athletes that we train at I Am Love Fitness. Not only, I heard they say they don't have youth sports here in Irondale, but we do. We have youth football, we have youth basketball, and we have youth flag football that we started here the last 2 years. We hadn't had sports here in the last 5 to 6 years. That started with a plan from I Am Love Fitness. So I watched 7, not students just graduate from 8th grade, but I watched these students get the A and AB honor roll. And I want to read what they sent me because I don't just want to be sitting just dilly-gag about it. Drayden Allen, graduated top of his class, honor roll and an outstanding team connection. Coach Trey, will you please come to my graduation today? I want my family to see you at my graduation because what you've been so good to me over the last 2 years. This is what I Am Love Fitness has done. So I'm not gonna really get into, what we're doing at the facility and all that because that's a little over my head. But I will get into the benefit of us having I Am Love Fitness here in the city of Irondale. Everybody talk about what Hoover has, what Vestavia has, what all of these municipalities has. Irondale doesn't have it. My vision has always been to make this community great as it used to be when I was here. I played sports here in Irondale. When I came back here in Irondale, we don't have it. So the whole plan for Irondale was to put a facility here that kids could rear up through it and be great, not just at the youth level, but if we can't compete at the high school level, if the Hoovers and the Vestavias and all of these municipalities have youth sports and we don't have it. So my whole plan was not just to build a gym here for that. My whole plan was to build a facility that we could generate everything for everyone. Now we got one of the baddest silver sneakers, group ever. And if you ain't never seen our silver sneakers crew, check my Facebook page. They ain't just working out. They dancing, they throwing barbecues on a Tuesday and on a Thursday and on a Saturday morning. In other words, this is a facility for everyone. Yes, it's gonna have a football field inside and out. Yes, it's gonna have a basketball court. Yes, it's gonna have a boxing ring. Yes, it's gonna have baseball batting cage. Yes, it's gonna have pickleball. Yes, it's gonna have silver sneakers. Yes, it's gonna have saunas. Yes, it's gonna have all of these things. I didn't go out of my mind and put all this plan together just to get to a point where I come to you guys. I ain't just talking about you guys, but everybody in this community that I grew up with, just been to come up with a reason for us not to do this. It makes no sense to me. I done prayed about this. I done gave it all to God. I don't even really understand why you don't want it. What else is there? We don't. We got the Publix. We got liquor stores on every corner. We got houses going up everywhere. We got all these things going all over this community. Why not put a place here where we can put our kids in? Now, most of you guys in here have brought your kids to me to train them. And that's probably one of the saddest parts about this to me is I watch you bring your kids to me to train them, to do combines, to come to our camps, to come to our youth sports. And then you don't want my facility here? That's a little different for me. So, going forward, I love Irondale. And I'm not here to go against anything that y'all going against me with or my facility. I'm going to do what God gave me to do. I'm going to be passionate about it. I'm going to pray about it. But I'm going to do what I have to do, what's best for me, my wife, our 6-month-old that we're about to have in 3 months. And I'm gonna move forward. And that's just gonna be that. I love Irondale and I love what we're doing here. But I gotta do what I have to do for my facility and my family. And that's that.
Stay on up here for us if you would, sir. Councilman London, questions, comments?
Personally, I watched you play in high school. Maybe some of these people didn't, but I watched you play. I mean, I've known you for a long time. I've known your family. I guess they're here. Been knowing your family for a long time. And I know your history. I know your background. I know where you've been. I know where you're going. But I've never held that against you from that point, and I never will. Because, I got some stuff too. All of us, if we be honest with it, ourselves, we got some stuff too. When it comes to kids, and I see in your work, when it comes to children, this is not a fight against you, but it's a fight against our young people. Let me tell you what I watch. I don't know about you in your community, but I watch in my community. This time of the year, school's out. I watch them walk by my house, bouncing a basketball, throwing a football, or doing something, but no place to go. An idle mind is a devil workshop. If we don't have a place for them to go, they will find a place to go. I have some concern. You and I talk. I have some concern that this is you, and I don't know both sides, and I know both sides probably got some concerns. But when you're talking about going against young people, we're talking about a gym. We're not talking about a strip club. We're talking about a gym. Now I understand from you that was as you met with the people after the meeting, there were some city police officer there talking about.
He was at the first meeting. He
First
wasn't
meeting,
at
he was
that
here
meeting. He was
talking
at the
about-
first meeting.
About crime.
Crime, and he was saying
From a
that it's
gym.
gonna bring people taking, breaking in cars and drugs. I was like, bro, it's a gym.
It's a
I
gym.
mean, I don't get how you start stealing cars from a gym, but
So I appreciate your effort. Work with kids. It's hard when you work with young people. It's very hard, and I appreciate your passion. I've seen you grow up. I know where you've been. I'm not gonna hold that against you, but I got you back.
appreciate that.
Does that conclude your comments?
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Thank you, Council President Spivey. One of the things that I want to stress to Mr. Cheney is I've heard from my constituents, I've heard from you as well, sir. I represent you also. And the issue's not with people that don't want you to have your gym in Irondale. They're not against you putting your gym in Irondale, but they own property, very expensive homes. And when they came to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, Planning and Zoning Board meeting, and I'm being very honest here, what I witnessed here, because I have sat in on 95% of the Planning and Zoning Board meetings that have taken place, because every case that does get a recommendation or even a denial will come before the council. And I always like to be informed, and I always make notes in my notebook. I sit in the very back so that I don't disturb anyone. But what I witnessed was very disturbing. It was unprecedented. I have never seen that happen before. And I hope it never happens again, because the residents that came to express concerns and ask questions, and they were legitimate questions, were heckled, were shouted at, were told it's none of your business. And that made me nervous. And when I witnessed you yelling at the P&Z board members and saying, and I wrote it down, stop playing with me. I'm not going to wait another month. You were yelling at them, sir. And it frightened me. And I was getting ready to go outside and get a police officer because I didn't know what was going to happen next. And I'm glad that you're now calm, because I want to reiterate to you that no one is against you building your gym. No one. But they have legitimate concerns about their properties, their rights as well. And it's why I suggested that there be an amicable agreement between you and these residents that have a right to also have their property respected, and make sure that it's no damage is going to happen to it. They had legitimate concerns. And so I'm here tonight to listen to you and to listen to them as well. And I hope that everybody will be open and listen to one another, because, sir, if you own property where they own property, you would be concerned too. You would want answers from the owner that's going to be building there, because you want to make sure that your children, your unborn child, is going to be safe. And there was a woman that had a 5-month-old baby that spoke, and she wept during the P&Z meeting because it has impacted their life, her child. And so I'm listening to both sides, and I want us to approach this and listen to one another and work out an agreement that protects their rights and also enables you to operate your business. Those are my comments.
Fair enough. Councilman Box?
Can I respond to those comments?
Let's get through the body. Councilman Box?
I appreciate the opportunity. And Mr. Cheney, I think it's a great idea. I love what you're doing. However, I'll say this, there are procedures and policies in place. And many times when people bring us zoning requests, we have plans to examine, we have things that we can look at, the citizens can look at it, and we send those presenters back to the citizenry that, hey, I don't like this, it's gonna be here, can you change the angle of that there? These lights might shine in my bedroom window, can you change it here? Maybe your noise is gonna be playing a little bit too late in the evening for me, would you consider cutting it off there, giving people headphones and stuff like that? And the citizenry and the presenter can get together, work those things out, so we can have such a positive thing here. But there's procedures to go through to do it. And a lot of times the citizenry, I know myself, I'm not educated on the procedures as well as I need to be. But as children of God, and I appreciate what you said that God's given you to do. But Jesus told us he would be the greatest, let him be the least and servant. Go to the citizenry and ask them, hey guys, what can I do? And citizenry, come to him and say, hey, we love you and this is what you can do. Let's be servants of each other, not determined to be, it's going to be my way, the highway this way, or my way, the highway that way. Let's be the love that we all claim to be. So with that said, I would like to see some of your plans for the building, some of the things that you're going to do, because that's what's normally done. We review those, we let the citizenry review it, and then we move forward from there. Because for myself, I think it's a great idea. I think it should be passed. But if the citizens have an objection to it, then those objections needs to be addressed or needs to be worked out with some acquiescence from you and some acquiescence from them. Those are my comments.
Councilman Sims, what say you?
Thank you for being here. I think a lot of people are here about this item. I got more emails about this than I think anything in the last couple of years. Some for, some concerns, and I'd like to hear all of that before we discuss further, personally.
Fair enough. My initial comments, and then you can respond to anything that you've heard. And if we need, we will cycle back through a 2-minute cycle, just like we would any other item, and give a chance for any follow-up questions based on the comments that you might provide here in just a moment.
Council President,
Yes, sir.
can I say something after you say
Yes,
something?
sir. By all means,
Okay.
please. So my comments were, I regret that I was unable to attend the P&Z. My wife had something going on with Girl Scouts. I was on daddy duty, and I'm glad that I didn't bring my children to that meeting. That being said, I know that this hasn't been pleasant for you, hasn't been pleasant for the citizenry, so I acknowledge the pain points on both sides of this. All right. I'm on P&Z typically, and P&Z just procedurally is tasked with, does the zoning align? Okay. Now, I know there's the blueprint and all that good stuff. Those are recommendations, but P&Z has to look at the existing zonings around what's being proposed and say, does this align? We've got commercial all down that category, down that corridor. I know that the church is institutional and the school is institutional. I've always looked at institutional as just glorified commercial because it's just owned by a municipality or a religious organization. So I don't even draw the line between institutional and commercial. I see commercial going all the way down that corridor. I also see approximately 35 acres that are currently zoned commercial, and we're talking about 2 acres. I think about those things. All right. I do think about accommodations to the community around directional lighting, respecting certain sound limits in certain times of the day. So I hope that we could have a conversation around that. I support what you are intending on doing at the end of the day, and I look forward to hearing some of the comments from our citizens for or against this. And like I said, we're going to run these comments by the numbers, and we will go from there. That being said, sir, would you like to take a couple moments to reply to what you have heard?
Yes, sir. I never was aggressive in the last meeting. Counselor Cuellar. I never yelled. I don't know where you're getting that from. What I did say, and I will quote what I said: if I cannot bring my baby here, which is the I Am Love Gym, then everything that I've done in Irondale is for nothing. I would rather leave here and go to another city. I'm trying to build a $2 million gym. Everything I have is in this gym. I understand what you're saying about the neighborhood around us. They put out their all into what they got. Guess what? If this gym doesn't work, I'll lose everything, because everything I have is in this gym. So that's what I said. I said that with passion. I'm a trainer. I'm a coach. My voice carries, but I did not raise my voice at anyone. I did not say anything to anyone. I also agreed to have the neighborhood meeting based on the neighbors in the city. Well, guess what? You showed up. Never knew your counselor was going to be at a neighborhood meeting. Never knew a lawyer was going to be at a neighborhood meeting. They tried to get me to sign something that day. They pressured me. I thought it was going to be like 3-4 people. 16 people showed up at that meeting. That same lady that you said was crying in this meeting apologized to me 3 times with sorrow. She was so sorry because she did not know you guys was going to come bombard me at that neighborhood meeting. That's what happened when you left. And I would love for you to talk to her about that, because I asked her. She did not know that it was going to go like that. And I did not know, because guess what? Had I known it was going to go like that, I would have never agreed to do that. And I kept saying, I didn't have to do that. Nobody's ever done that. Just met with the neighbors after rezoning. I mean, I did that just based on courtesy. And you kept pointing at me. You keep saying you're on my side. You've never said anything good on my side. You've been against me the entire time. You've never said one thing. I have never felt any goodness from you. And you can sit there and say you have, but you have never. And I'm just being 100. I'm being honest about it. And I'm as godly and as honest. You even questioned my Christianity that day. Wait, because I let you talk. You questioned my Christianity twice. And I had to read a post on Facebook about my Christianity. I fought tooth and nails. I did that time. I came to salvation with Jesus, but you questioned my Christianity. That broke my heart. You're on the council. I would never question someone's Christianity. You don't even know me. That hurt me to my soul. And I'm standing here still trying to be here in this city that you're a councilman of. And you questioned me.
Are you ready for me to respond?
Actually, not at this time. We're not.
He's
I'm not
made
ready
comment.
to hear your response. I'm not ready to
Okay.
hear your response. Right, proceed.
I'm done. That's all I had.
Okay. Mayor, I apologize. I transitioned to him before I acknowledged you, so please.
That's okay. I just want to probably talk about the technical side of this whole deal and, to put it in the proper perspective and why we're here. First of all, I would like to say anybody has the right to be able to seek rezoning of their property. Number one, that's the American way. If you want to be able to do that, you submit an application, you come down here, we accept it, and then it goes to the Planning and Zoning Board. I wasn't there either. I sit on the Planning and Zoning Board, but Lee was there. And I trust Lee and her judgment and what she shared with me about what took place during that time. But when something goes to the Planning and Zoning Board, it goes there to determine what is the highest and best use of that piece of property. And that's what they are tasked with when they hear a case. Now, all of the other stuff, all of the noise and everything that went on during that time, I'm quite sure they heard it. But the only thing that I would like to ask, because we're here tonight to be able to hear the pros and the cons, if it should be rezoned or if it shouldn't be rezoned, but I would like to know what was the recommendation that came from the P&Z board, because I know all of those individuals that sit on that board. And I know that everybody that sit on that board is pretty impartial and unbiased. I would like to hear what was the vote at the P&Z board.
So basically, from what I understand after a chat with Jimmy, the chair of the P&Z, is that it was unanimously approved. And there was a side comment spoken by the chair. I do not know which piece of property he owns, but he actually owns a piece of property in the vicinity of the proposed rezoning area, and he was okay with it.
Okay.
So it was approved unanimously to ultimately answer your question. I'm remiss for not putting that out there in the beginning. Thank you.
And that's all I had to add to the process.
Okay. Go ahead and come back around for a second round. Councilman London, do you need it?
When you get old, it goes away. It might come back. So.
Okay, fair enough. Councilwoman Cuellar.
Yes, I do want to make a couple of comments, and that is a rezoning request is not a right. A rezoning request is an appeal, but it is not a right. It is an appeal. Secondly, there have been several comments made, allegations where I have questioned this gentleman's Christianity. There were people that were there, and I will let them speak for me. I don't need to speak for myself. They were there. They can speak on their own as to whether or not I accused this gentleman and questioned his Christianity. I was falsely accused of posting hateful things on Facebook by his building contractor. And I told the building contractor, you need to stop with your false accusations. I have never posted anything against Mr. Cheney on Facebook. I did state that. And I did state that as a Christian, what we need to do is work together in coming to a consensus, in coming to an agreement. I was invited to attend that meeting by my constituents. I did not go of my own accord. I was there as their representative, sir, and I continue to state that I am your representative, and I do not have anything against you. I do not have anything against you building your property. But there needs to be mutual respect and mutual dialogue when we are working with property. We need to respect one another. We need to listen to one another. And I'll let them speak to everything else that you said, because they were there. I was there. They heard the same thing I heard. Those are my comments.
Gotcha. Councilman Box, you have 2 minutes.
I pretty much gave everybody my heart version of it a few minutes ago, but really sometimes, guys, passion has to go away. And you do what is the appropriate and right thing. And then your passions can line up. What's the appropriate and right thing is for both sides to seek to serve the other side. instead of seeking to serve their own goal. Because when you seek to serve your own goal, you're not putting your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ first. Believe me, I know. I'm really good at it. Okay? Seek to serve the other person. You neighborhood people, get with this man. He's got a great thing that can come to the city. Mr. Cheney, get with him. Y'all submit yourselves to each other in love and then watch it work out. And watch it work out better than you can dream. Because the promise we have as Christians is that Jesus can do exceedingly abundantly above all we ask or think. So take your human passions out, because human passions ain't never helped nobody. Maybe on a football field. But that's what I have to say. I want to see this pass tonight, even if we on the council have to say, Mr. Cheney, this is what they would like. Can you agree to a portion of that? Citizens, this is what Mr. Cheney would like. Can you agree to a portion of that? Now, that's going to take us a while tonight, or y'all can try to do this yourselves and then come back to us. That's my second.
Cover that. Councilman Sims.
I would like to, again, just hear what the people have to say and come back and maybe discuss after or ask some questions.
Okay, fair enough. My closing comments, and I meant to state this originally, is we got here to this point tonight rather interestingly with P&Z issues that come up for public hearing. I'm used to seeing attorneys in the room. That doesn't surprise me. I am surprised, no offense. Why in the world do we have a court reporter in here? How did this happen? What stirred the pot so much that someone called a court reporter to be here? Now, maybe you're on your own volition. I'm making a leap. I don't know why you're here or who asked you to be here. But what are we doing as a community? This has gotten a little out of hand. And I can appreciate the fact that there's some documentation that's desired for this. As I speak these words right now, they're being typed. I've always thought our city clerk's record was good enough, but apparently it's not. Something has happened to bring us to this point of division, and I detest it above any other thing that I've seen in my term here. I am so sick of the word Facebook, too. I mean, can we just put that thing in the garbage? All right. I asked my wife, something had popped off in the household the other day, and I was like, can we just go back to the 90s? Can we get rid of the internet and the Wi-Fi and the cell phones and just actually have like legitimate conversations with people? That would be great.
I suppose I have one other readdress if I might.
I'll come.
I appreciate that.
You did not use your entire bit of time, so I will yield to you on that.
Thank you.
That being said, what's the name of your gym proposed?
I Am Love Fitness.
I'm sorry?
I Am Love Fitness.
Okay. I Am Love Fitness. Let's get out of this place that we're in right now. Let's us get out of this place that we're in now. Let's all get out of this place that we're in now. And let's come together. Let's listen to each other. And let's stop getting so feisty. That's my final comment.
Can I take it, Council President?
Yes, sir.
Since I didn't use my second round.
Yes.
Let me bring the focus back here. All right. This meeting tonight is strictly on only rezoning. That's it. It's not about him building a building or how it looks, what the covenants might be. All of those things has to come back through us. All we're here tonight is just say, yes, we can rezone your commercial, your property. But when it comes to covenant, that's when the conversation happens with us about what you want, what he needs, and everybody come to an agreement. But all that has to come back through us. So this right now, it's just strictly rezoning. It's rezoning the property. That's it. That's all we're doing tonight. It's rezoning the property. So that's where we need to come back to and make sure we understand that. Thank you.
Councilwoman Cuellar, since we're kind of coming around on the third, you had about 20 seconds that were not used in your third round.
I didn't get to respond.
I'll come back to you. I'll let you finish this. Fair enough. Councilwoman Cuellar?
What I would like to say is that in June of 2023, I always keep my notes. There was a gentleman on Overton Road by the name of Mark Golden, and when he came to the council, he had already spoken with the residents and the executive director at Mitchell's Place, who was present. And when they spoke about the rezoning, that agreement was already made, and that covenant was made within the ordinance. He worked with our city attorney. We had that in the ordinance, which we're dealing with tonight.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I did want to have that point of clarity. Takes place when we're looking at the ordinance, which has to do with rezoning.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Box?
You know, I'm gonna get a little preach again. Councilman London started it that way. 1 Corinthians 6 tells us, how dare any of you go to law one with the other? Do you not have enough love between you to work things out? That you're gonna go to a legal system, and you're supposed to be Christian. I'm not calling Christianity in place, because I'm a Christian myself and I make mistakes every day. But can we not work together? I'm not sure, but Councilman London is way senior to me, but I think covenants can be put in place tonight, and possibly should be, because the citizen has to be respected, Mr. Cheney has to be respected, and a positive outcome has to be generated without it going through all kind of legal ramifications and everybody just getting ugly with each other. Number one, how dare you go to law one with the other?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Sims, you have a good amount of time on the books that I could yield back
Save
to
it
you.
up. I just want to ask legal question. Just Councilor Lund mentioned something about the building. We passed a building ordinance back, I don't even know, a year or two ago, about how buildings have to be in Irondale. So anything built has to follow that ordinance we've already passed, correct? Okay. It's just the zoning. Well, I will just say this. It's going from institutional to commercial. It was owned by the church. They sold it off, correct? I don't know if you go down 459, you pass Acton Road, Lakeside Baptist is right there. They've got a huge gym facility right there that I've been in, played in. Mount Brook has a big gym. The church could have built a gym, and we wouldn't be here tonight. But they didn't. Mr. Cheney's trying to build a gym, so I just want to make that point
Fair enough.
and reserve the rest of my time.
Okay. Take us home.
My only response is to Council Box. I actually serve on the prayer team. You and Mayor Stewart.
I'm sorry.
We actually serve on Mayor Stewart prayer team together.
Awesome.
Yeah, you know, he used to have these before he got his big time job again. You know, we used to have these prayer meetings that all of the preachers in the city of Irondale and councilmen would come to, and then me and a couple of my friends would come pray with the pastor.
Awesome.
And you're right. I did try to bring unity to this situation after that meeting.
Yes, sir.
I went home, I prayed about it. I felt bad about it. I didn't like the bickering going back. It felt like the 60s.
Yes, sir.
One side against another. And that was never my intentions on what I do. I am love simply stands for God loves fitness.
Yes, sir.
God told Moses to go to Pharaoh. He said, what am I going to say when you send me to ask him? I am what I am. Whatever you need to be, provider, healer, protector. That's what it is. God loves fitness.
I agree.
John chapter 13, 34 and 35 that says this. Love God with all your heart, soul, and mind. And this is how you will know that you're a disciple of God, by the way that you love others.
Yes, sir.
So after that night, when Jill contacted me, because I had left them on red, everybody that contacted me, I left my number here. I said, you know what? I'm gonna go speak. I'm gonna go give them a meeting. Now, I went to that meeting, think it's gonna be 3 or 4 neighbors in Barton. Now, I cannot speak on what someone else says to you. A contractor, somebody I hire, I can only speak on what I say to you. Because when he said what he said to you, what did I say? That's not her.
Let's go ahead and conclude.
Okay? But I will say this. My only thing to do in Irondale is bring unity to this city from the adolescents rear all the way up to the till they go to the grave.
Amen. 70 times 7.
That's it.
70
Now
times.
to respond to you saying bring an ordinance and sign a covenant agreement, I can't sign a covenant agreement right now when I don't know what it's gonna look like in the end. I don't want to put myself in a position to not know. You got to think, I just run gyms and a coach. It's the first gym I ever built, and I told Councilman Coyle this. put it to my ignorance on building buildings, because it's my first one.
Yes, sir.
So when I get to the end, then I can come and say, okay, now I know what we can do. Because I don't know what the end result looks like. It's the first building I ever built. I would be a fool to sign something right now, not knowing what the end result would look like. And that is my only issue. It's not saying I don't want to work with them. If I didn't want to work with them, I would have never agreed to that meeting. I didn't have to do that. And that is my only response to that. And that's wholeheartedly.
Thank you for your comment, sir. At this time, I would ask for a motion to enter public hearing.
Motion to enter public hearing.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Are you ready? Okay. All right. At this time, we will take we will take comments for the rezoning of this project. Yes, sir. We'll be capping these comments to 2 minutes. Did you provide your information to this young lady? Name and address? Okay. I'm sorry? This is 4. We need to have you say it out loud.
Okay.
Hey everybody, I'm Thomas Beavers, servant leader, senior pastor of the Star Church, and I am for the rezoning of this building, and I'm here tonight to speak on Trey's character. I want to talk about his character as a friend, his character as a community member, and a church member as well. As a friend, I've known Trey Chaney for over 35 years. We grew up in the Stone Ridge community together. When we came from school, we would walk to his grandmother's house, and his grandmother would keep me as well as my siblings and his siblings until my mom got off of work. As a friend, I can say that he's been an inspiration to me. All of us know Trey's story. How can we not be inspired by his story? Trey made some decisions that were not so good, but in spite of those decisions, I believe that Trey is an example of what's right with our system, because the system truly has been correctional. How can you not root for somebody who not only fell down, but decided to get back up? And so Trey has been an inspiration to me. He's been an inspiration to my kids. He's been an inspiration to so many people. But I also want to talk about Trey, not just as a friend, but also as a community member. Trey is a member of the Irondale Chamber of Commerce. Trey is over Little League Sports in Irondale. Trey trains several children in Irondale, and not just Irondale, but because of I Am Love Fitness, you have several children that are coming to this community of Irondale because they believe in what Trey has to offer, who are not from Irondale. And so Irondale is not just growing from within, but Irondale is growing from the outside as well. Last but not least, Trey has been a member of our church over the past 4 years. I can honestly say that from Easter of 23 till Easter of 24, 1,004 people said yes to Jesus through the Star Church. 10% of that, over 100 of those people, came directly from I Am Love Fitness. This is not anything that I'm making up. This is documented inside of our numbers. Out of those people who have came from I Am Love Fitness.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Allison, do you have the address, please? Can I have an address?
London Avenue South, Birmingham, Alabama 35206. Thank you.
Thank you. This is for the rezoning, in favor for the rezoning. Yes, ma'am. For the benefit of the dictator.
My name is Bonita Cheney. I live at 3608 Cherry Brook Run, Irondale, Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama 35223. I moved to Irondale, Alabama in March 20th, 1981. I've been a member of this community for 44 years. I'm Trey's mother. I raised him. And I was here at the zoning meeting. Trey was not rude. He was not disrespectful. He was called disrespectful by Miss Kula. In fact, she said that he needed to apologize to the group, is what she said. A member of the educational board posted a post on Facebook the next day demanding that all of the citizens come to this to this meeting and vote no to his gym. First of all, it's a gym. Trey has a double degree from the University of Alabama in leadership science and in physical education. He's board certified as a trainer. He works with not only children and adults, but he also works with those persons who have disabilities. The gym will bring a vast number of necessary things to this community, not only for young children, but for older adults. So I am for the gym. He has never been disrespectful. He was not disrespectful. In fact, having worked for the United States government for 40-some years and working with discrimination, the meeting was really a meeting that made me feel like I was back in the 50s. He was being disrespectful because a building was built next to him last year and none of this took place. No one complained about noise factor.
Thank you for your
Tracy,
comments.
you're
Thank you.
welcome.
For the rezoning. Any other comments for the rezoning? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Sergey Kilich. I live at 1319 Marion Drive, and I'm a middle school science teacher. And I work at McAdoy Middle School in Jefferson County, and we serve some of the same kids that I'm sure that Shades Valley and Irondale Middle serve. And when I tell you these kids need a place to go, and I know that the citizens that live close there have concerns, and I think they're valid, and I think there is, some wiggle room on both sides that need to happen. But if these kids do not have a place to go, I'm telling you right now, hearing that they got arrested, a 12, 13-year-old child got arrested, it breaks you. One of your students, you feel like you've failed personally as a role model, as a teacher, as what's supposed to be a guide. And so I want to thank you for what you're doing. You did not deserve to be spoken to like that. You're a grown man. You're a role model to these kids. I thank you very much for what you're doing for these youth.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments for the rezoning? Flip a coin for yourself. We'll see. I think we've got ma'am, were you coming up? Yes. Okay, let's go ahead and yield to the young lady, then we'll move to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yolanda Holmes, Holmes. I live at 5711 Casey Circle, and that's here in Irondale. I am for the gym as a senior citizen. During COVID, I'm a Blue Cross Blue Shield supplement person. I have Medicare and Blue Cross Blue Shield. I retired right before COVID, and I knew once I retired that I was going to need some physical activity. I didn't want to come home and not have physical activity. So I petitioned Blue Cross to give us an opportunity as seniors to have silver sneakers. I had to fight with Blue Cross over a whole year to get this gym approved. What I liked about this gym was that during COVID, I never stopped exercising. He had that gym sanitized for us because young people were in there early. There was a drop-off period, and then we could go in and exercise. I have become more physically fit. I recently had a knee surgery, but I am for this gym because of what it's doing for senior citizens. It started out with myself, then Mr. and Mrs. Cheney came, and now we have 30 people that come to exercise in this gym 3 days a week. We have had a bond, like they say. We have now become family. I think it's something that everybody in this community could benefit from. Exercise is important as we age. And so one of the things we need to do is we need to learn to support each other when we're trying to go down avenues that's going to help us in this community. When I look around this room, I don't see anybody in here that's young, no offense. But all of us can benefit from what a gym like this is gonna bring us with walking trails, with pickleball, and with those different things. So I want us to strongly consider, what does a gym mean to our community as individuals? What does it mean to us to have African Americans to come here in this community to build businesses? I think that's important. I want to support Publix. I want to support UPS. Thank you, God, I don't have to go over on.
Ma'am, thank you for your comments.
Yes, but we want
Thank
to
you.
support all of our.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, I believe you're decided that you're in the 4 column.
I'm Robert Chapman. I live at 1035 Bramble Lane, which is directly behind where the gym's going in. And I would like to thank the council, men and women that did read the email that I sent. First of all, I want to state, I am for the gym. I've probably played in more gyms in the city of Birmingham than probably even you, Councilman London. But my wife and I both want it to happen. But we want it to happen, especially for our youth in Irondale and the surrounding area. But we do want it to be done as approved by ADM, legally and with respect to and with minimal impact on the surrounding neighborhood. At the zoning meeting, I went over to introduce myself to Trey out here in the parking lot. Told him I look forward to working with you going forward. I did miss the meeting that was on the site. I hated to, but I did hear. I got a disturbing report about what happened. Before that, there's been about 5 projects in that area, and I focused on every one of them. I've learned to go get permits. Of course, I knew how to do a lot of it with my job that I'm now retired from. We had one incident with the Heights, and they responded. They were tearing up our foundations and stuff. And I kept up with the latest one a lot. And there were no red flags that I found. The one that disturbed me recently was the meeting that was referenced. I was told that the owner said, I will not agree to anything regarding noise, lights, erosion to property, or operating hours, outside activities, because I will do whatever it takes to make my business run. This really concerned me and my wife and other neighbors in the area. And it should the Irondale City Council.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Council President, can you give him just a few more minutes to make his comments?
We're going to run this by the numbers. Please keep in mind this is an ordinance. And I will say right here, I would be surprised if this is the last we see of this because of the process. I'm not giving anybody an out, but I have a strong suspicion that through the 3-piece process, this will be discussed again. That opportunity can be taken at that time if it presents itself. Thank you for your comments, sir. And I did receive your email. Any other comments for this? Yes, ma'am. Flip a quarter, sister.
I'd really love to hear from the pastors in the room right now.
All right, anyone that is definitely in the 4 column. All right.
My name is Ryan Freeman, 6047 Old Leeds Road. I'm Trey's direct adjacent neighbor on Ryan Freeman Inc. Our corporate office is there. We just finished it not too long ago on the lot next to Trey as well. And I'm excited about what Trey's doing. I think he's going to be a great neighbor. I think he has a great vision. He's going to be a community leader. You need young community leaders. And I think I hear what you guys are saying. There needs to be some both ways, but there's also stopgaps that can be put into place, photometrics, stuff like that you guys can consider down the road from a zoning standpoint that'll eliminate some of this, and you won't have to have all this arguing back and forth. You can have a template to where everybody works from that. And when you submit your plans, you have to meet those requirements of site lighting, throw distance of the way the light goes, all that stuff. I just want, you guys will save yourself a lot of heartache if you take that up at a later date as you continue to grow as a city and develop. So good luck, Trey.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments for the rezoning? Yes, sir. As long as you vocalize it, we're fine with that.
Okay. Claude McRoberts, 1031 Bramble Lane. My wife and I moved here just in March, and I'm the new senior minister at Cahaba Park Church. It's right off Liberty Park and by the Dairy Queen and then up. We're loving it, and we love Irondale. We feel like it's a blessing from the Lord. We feel like I'm about to turn 60 next week. I've been in another church in Montgomery for 23 years and just felt like God has just really put us in Irondale for a reason. I mean, it's like a gift to us because of the peace we feel. And the only comments I brought were what I also had emailed. I didn't mean for that to look nonchalant. But my comments shift as I hear different things. I'm not shifting on my desire to continue to have peace, Trey. My wife and I were really thankful to be in that neighborhood, and it is so peaceful. The trees, the birds. It used to be a bird sanctuary around there, and I think that's my plea, maybe, because I don't think we're gonna get this opportunity again. And of course, I'd love to break bread with you sometime and just talk about your story. But I love you. I mean, I'm a brother in Christ. I love what you're doing. I'm in the ministry because of youth ministry too. I've worked at camps. I mean, there's nothing I'm against anything you're doing. I just would ask that, in the future, we could have that conversation and just respect that, my wife and I would like to, I guess, just have the peace that we knew we were buying into. So I really appreciate you, but I also love my neighbors too. I shouldn't say but, because that sounds like it's a juxtaposition, but we're with you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And hit a post. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry?
I didn't say forward, but I'm not in between or I'm forward.
Fair enough. We recorded you on the 4 side.
Nickel 313 Grants Mill Drive. Trey grew up in my neighborhood, but I don't know you. But I will say, being the parent of a young man who's had struggles, I'm really glad that his current employer, the people he signed a contract with to buy a home similar to your homes yesterday at 33. I'm glad they didn't hold the color of his skin against him. I'm glad they did not hold his past against him. But I will say this as well. He's a product of Irondale. He grew up here. Did he stray? Yes. But we had football then. We had wrestling then. We had soccer. We had basketball. We had all of these opportunities for him when he was 4 and 5 and 6 years old that our children now, they don't have. Our children haven't had, and I'm not sure how many years. John could probably tell us. The mayor could probably tell us how many years has it been that we have not had a full sports program. And also, I do several things that are close to where Trey is, as well as walk at Beacon. And his place is quiet. I see people go and come. I don't see any of the things that Trey mentioned earlier occurring in his parking lot. I'm in and out of there several times a week. And like I said, I overlook it as I walk every day. And I never see anything occur that would be questionable. Only people coming to work out. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments for the rezoning? For the rezoning. With no more comments for the rezoning, then we will move on to comments against the rezoning. As you please.
Mother Louise Marie with the Sister Servants of the Eternal Word, and we own the property that has the exit next to the, well, it's right on Brooks Lane. So my comment is, Councilman London, you said this is a zoning meeting. Zoning meetings should have the ordinances before the zoning is passed. It's not something you look at after. Reaching this agreement, and it's a tough thing, because Mr. Cheney runs a successful business. And this isn't the first gym, but to make a business run has its own demands. But the neighbors who bought into that whole Carl Daly area, which is very quiet and secluded like a bird sanctuary, also have a right to what they bought into. So this is tough to reach the agreements, but those agreements are not reached after the zoning. The ordinances and the covenants are reached before, and ordinances are stronger than covenants. So it's not just a zoning meeting tonight that you pass and you look at the other after.
Thank you. Comments against? Copy. Okay, this is.
Good evening. My name is Bert Boykin, and I represent Jill and Hayes Harris, who live next to this proposed development. And by the way, my address is 2001 Second Place North, Suite 540 in Birmingham. As I've stated, my client's home is on Brooks Lane. You will likely hear from a number of residents tonight. However, I can only speak for Mr. and Ms. Harris. I do feel that our concerns are shared by many of those that live in close proximity to the site. I agree with Council President Spivey that the Blueprint Irondale Comprehensive Plan is persuasive or a guide, but it does state the vision and reflect a lot of hard work and planning to help the council and make these type of tough decisions. Within it's a future land use map. It shows that the property is to be used for parks and open spaces. The comprehensive plan is from 2021. It's a recent addition. And parks and open spaces indicate in the comprehensive plan that A1, C4, and institutional 1 are the appropriate zoning districts. So this rezoning would be inconsistent with Blueprint Irondale. We went to the Planning and Zoning Commission a few weeks ago and we asked if they were to consider rezoning this property that specific conditions be placed on it, limit the hours of operation to standard business hours, require installation of a greenbelt buffer along the rear of the site, separating it from the neighborhood, require that outdoor lights be low impact to minimize light pollution, and prohibit outdoor music. The greenbelt buffer and lighting restrictions are required by the C1 ordinance. However, we don't have anything from the applicant showing that he's prepared to comply with that. We don't have a landscaping plan or a light plan or any renderings whatsoever. He stated a moment ago he doesn't know what it's going to look like. I think it's fair for the community and the council to fully understand the impact, to be able to see what it's going to look like, to have a general layout and understand how the site's going to function.
Thank you for your comment, sir.
Could I wrap up?
We are, I'll give you like 3 seconds, to complete your thought.
I was at that neighborhood meeting. I'm the lawyer that was there. I just respectfully disagree with Trey that anything was pushed on him. He represented to the
Thank you for your comments.
Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments.
My name is Michael Odom. My address is 2025 3rd Avenue North, Birmingham. I represent Sister Servants of the Eternal Word. And you heard where their property is. They're on Carl Daly Road, and they also own property on Belmont Road. And I'd just like to say the proposed Z1 zoning classification simply incompatible with that land and the land immediately surrounding it. You've heard from people who live immediately behind it, and it's institutional on either side. This property was institutional when Mr. Cheney bought it. He knew it was institutional when he bought it, and he bought it anyway. It's incompatible with Irondale's comprehensive plan. And you've heard from somebody else saying there's commercial property near this. Well, the other commercial property is a daycare, and another one's a 9-to-5 business. They have put on their Facebook page they want to operate from 5 in the morning until 8 p.m. at night. They're going to have outdoor lights. The zoning ordinance, C1 zoning ordinance says lighting shall not shine, reflect, or glare into public streets or residential areas in C1 zoning. And Mr. London's correct. This is a rezoning hearing. This is not for y'all to approve a specific use. Once this property is zoned, rezoned, if you rezone it C1, it can be anything that's allowed in that. Mr. Cheney could change his mind. He could go out of business. You know, it's allowed in that: restaurants, drive-ins, restaurants with drive-throughs, bowling alleys, pool halls, billiard rooms, dance halls. They can put a Sonic drive-in right there. It's zoned for it. Y'all shouldn't stop it. There's not going to be an opportunity to put covenants or restrictions on after it's rezoned. The time to do that is now. And so if it's rezoned, anything in C1 goes. And there have already been violations of his ADM permit. He's been cited for, he doesn't have a permit from the city of Irondale.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Any other comments against the rezoning?
Give me 1 second before you start the clock. Pass those around. My name is Carter Dukes. I live at 3108 Carl Daly Road. My wife and I just purchased that property back in December. We moved in January. It's a 10-acre horse farm. We invested our life savings into that property. Our property is about 550 feet from this proposed development. And I want to make it very clear that I think that Trey Cheney, from what I hear, is a wonderful fellow. And what he is doing in the community and doing for the Lord is a wonderful thing. The problem is, and I think we need a gym in Irondale. I think that's a great thing. There is no reason, though, that this gym has to be where it is currently located. I love Irondale. I think it's a beautiful city. Diversity of population, diversity of the property. We have great industrial property. We have great residential property. We have agricultural property, which I own. The one problem with Trustful is that it does have some blight, some problems on Highway 78, Grants Mill, with property that is undeveloped or that has been abandoned. And so there's plenty of other spaces to build a gym. It does not have to be built in my backyard and to create a nuisance for my property. I do want to say, I know I have a very limited amount of time. This property is not proper for C1 zoning because there is an outdoor football field. You cannot have an outdoor football field in C1. It has to be C2. Going to the point made earlier, if it's C2, then you can have anything there if this business folds or if he wants to sell it. So I would appreciate what he's doing, but would appreciate that the gym be
Thank you for your comments, sir.
placed elsewhere.
Appreciate you. Any other comments against the rezoning? Yes, sir. Try to get it before it gets like super loud. I'm not always successful. Yes, sir.
My name is Matthew Lawson. I live at 100 Brooks Lane. My property overlooks this property at the gym. I was there at the meeting with Trey.
Please make sure you speak into the mic.
Yeah, I was there at the meeting with Trey after the P&Z board meeting. To tell you the truth, man, I don't think I handled myself great. I don't think you handled yourself great. I don't think we came together as neighbors like we should, and I apologize for that. You're putting a lot of work into this property. I mean, you're putting your heart and soul into it. I saw how emotional you got a moment ago whenever your mom was up here speaking, and I know it means a lot to you. This is my home. I mean, you know, you and your employees, and I know you're putting a lot into this, but at the end of the day, you go home. You know, at the end of the day, this is what I look at, you know, all hours of the day, be it 5 in the morning whenever your gym opens, or, you know, 8 o'clock at night whenever it's closing. I've got a 1-year-old at home. I've got 2 dogs that roam the yard. I'm afraid that this is going to run me out of my home. This is right there. I mean, I look out my window, whereas I used to see trees, now I'm seeing a gym. And without coming with a plan tonight, it's just concerning to me, you know. I just hope that that the gym has a good aesthetic to it, and as Mr. Box proposed, you know, that we can just get along. And I want to commit to you that, like, I'll hold up my end of the bargain, but, like, you know, you saying that a lot of this is over your head and you don't know about the plans and stuff right now. I just want to make sure that this remains a place that I want to stay for my home, you know, and I hope you can help me out with that.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Comments against? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that's fine. I'll send it around before we start.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm Jill Harris, and I'm directly behind the proposed gym. I did reach out to Trey to meet after the P&Z meeting. He's who I am who he was referring to earlier. And I lost the first page of my notes. So my husband Hayes and I have lived on Brooks Lane for 12 years. We've worked very hard. We work very long hours, and we too have put everything we have into our home, and we absolutely love Irondale. We are not in any way, shape, or form against a thriving youth sports community or a thriving gym in our community. The photos I've just passed out show 6085 Old Leeds Road on different dates since the last time we met with the P&Z, and the progress that has taken place on removing trees from that lot and clearing it up until the very edge. The landscape plan that was submitted to ADEM is the 4th picture over on the handout that I've given you, and it shows where the trees were supposed to remain to create a protection, and that is on the paper. Those trees aren't there. You can tell from that picture. I've circled in red where my property line adjoins the line of the gym. This is just one of the many concerns regarding the management and the activity of this development so far that I have had. As of today, there's no realistic plans for us to review, for us to see, or for us to really know what's going to be built there. And that's concerning. And it has already, the progress of moving all the trees has drastically changed our homes and our environment. What we do know is that this commercial It's a commercial business. It is something that's great for all the institutions that surround it. But at the end of the day, this is a commercial business that the owner has told us is he's willing to do whatever it takes to make his business successful.
Any other one that needs to speak in against? Yes, sir.
John Bavona. I'm just going to speak on the fact that as an engineer, 44 years, I reviewed countless permits. There's not one permit I ever reviewed that did not have detailed drawings. You have to have that. How is the permit reviewing engineer going to assess the public safety? Is it built to sound standards? It's all nice to say we have drawings, but you have to see it. What's in the ADAM permit is schematic. Matter of fact, on the gym, it's got subject to change, not for construction. I'd have never approved that in my 40 plus years. And I'm not asking anything more than what I've done in practice to save public integrity, public safety. You have to see the drawings. I think a lot of questions here would be answered if you had construction drawings, not a schematic that says subject to change, not for construction.
Any other comments against rezoning? Because that was a technical question, I would allow you to respond to that.
There are drawings still under review. ADAM has been contacted about the trees. The trees, ADAM does not care about the trees as long as the DMP is in place. Nothing has left that property. In any rain or any storm we have, I got somebody documenting that place every day. Now, I hear this going on here. I want to speak up. I'm on this every day. I'm not gonna let a business get built here that is not in conformance to our city ordinance or code. These people can look at the plans as soon as they're approved by our engineers and us.
Thank you, sir.
Nothing is approved. ADM is the only permit that's got a business.
Thank you for that clarification, and we appreciate your expertise in this matter.
Any complaints, call ADM. Call ADM if you got homeless. They've issued a permit on that property.
I appreciate you giving us an idea of what has occurred and what still is yet to occur. Any other comments against the rezoning? Yes, please.
I wasn't planning to speak, but I think it's important for me to just say a couple of things, and I had intended to, I intended to just show up and talk.
Name and address before you proceed.
Edward Savella, I'm 3055 Carl Daly Road. Honorable council members, mayor, everybody here. Trey, man, I love you, pal. I pray every day. Y'all sound like a bunch of preachers up here, but I'll tell you, I pray every day. I used to do some work in Bibb County, or Bibb Correctional Institution, go down there and teach prisoners. And I pray for people who turn their lives around through Jesus. Okay? So God bless you on that. And not really, I came up with the against because I want to make this point. I think, from what I've heard so far tonight, is that this thing was sort of rammed through in a way. I don't want to offend anybody, but was done without people getting together, looking at plans, getting with the neighborhood, having, official permitting and all that. I don't know what the technical definitions are for all this, but maybe a little premature. There's a lot of work done on that site. There's a bulldozer out there today, or yesterday when I went by. So I guess all I'm saying is I would ask, I'd like to see a real nice, fine piece of property with a green zone and so on, protect the people who own property there. Everybody's got a right to run a business. I ran a business for many years. The one thing I would suggest to the council, it's not a law. Zoning is not legal to do that until it's passed by this group right here. Until then, it is not a law. It's not approved. And what I would ask is that this gets tabled for maybe 1, 2, 3 months or however long it takes in order for Mr. Cheney to get proper documentation, proper permit, proper meeting with the people, and so on. That's
Thank you
all
for your
I'm
comments.
asking. Thank you.
Any other comments against this rezoning? With no further comments against this rezoning, I would ask for a motion to exit public hearing.
Motion to exit public hearing.
Second.
Motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. It is a ordinance process. If someone can make a movement.
I make a motion
Can-
this
can I,
ordinance
oh,
2024
never mind.
dash 08 be postponed.
A motion for postponement has been put on the table and seconded. I'll do a roll call. Councilman London?
No.
Councilwoman Cuellar?
Yes.
Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
No.
And myself, no. Motion fails for postponement. Motion fails for postponement. It still has to be dealt with. Would anybody else care to introduce this?
Make a motion that ordinance number 2024-08 be considered read, but be amended to include time constraints on light and noise filtration in instances, adjusting the time from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. for unlimited light and noise ordinances.
Can I ask the city attorney some questions?
Please.
Since I've got time left. I took some notes while everyone was talking on their concerns. Noise is one. We do have a noise ordinance that we recently, I think, updated. It's got quiet hours, correct? And the business, all residents, anybody in Irondale has to abide by those hours of the noise ordinance, correct?
It has quiet hours.
It's 8 a.m. or 7 a.m.
I think it's 7 to 10.
It's 7 to 10.
There's something to do. Change.
While she's looking that up, I mean, if there's a green belt and the lighting restrictions are in the zoning ordinance, we would have ability to cite if that were not done, correct? Okay. Let's see. I can't read what I wrote. I mean, right now, I guess the loudest thing right there is probably the high school football games, the Friday nights in the fall, stadium lights. But again, as long as their lights are doing what they're supposed to, according to their, oh, my other question is going to be, can we rezone it and restrict it tighter to make sure there's no bowling alleys and all the other stuff? Okay.
As to your question concerning noise ordinance, it's in actually section 9-72, and it says that you cannot actually cause to be made or continue to be made any unreasonably loud or raucous sound as to be plainly audible to any person at least 50 feet from the source of the sound. That is at any time. Now, it actually goes into certain things concerning yelling, shouting, etc. That is in public streets, and that is what is between the hours of 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So that would be actually in the public street. So there's also something for loud music that is also 50 feet. It cannot be plainly audible to any person at least 50 feet from the vehicle. So the actual time frame only deals with what you can do in the city street.
Got it.
It's actually 50 feet from where the sound comes in anytime.
So I feel like a lot of the concerns have been addressed previously by the council in our current noise ordinances, the zoning. I think we can totally restrict the zoning down to what he's trying to do, specifically to not allow anything other than that.
Exclude all zonings that might apply to something else other than the proposed use of property.
Correct.
Correct.
Is what I think he's trying to articulate.
I feel like we can address pretty much everything that was brought up. My thoughts.
Based on the way that you've reintroduced this, are you satisfied with the clarification from legal?
I'm satisfied with the clarification from legal, but I'd like for my motion to stand with 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. would be the time for outdoor music and unlimited lighting or disturbance of light.
But you're not trying to cap what can be done inside.
I am not trying to cap him what he can do.
Okay. Box has made a motion.
I just have one question.
I think Councilman London
Okay.
was speaking first.
Thank you.
ahead, ladies first. Ladies first. Go
Are
ahead,
you-
Council.
Councilwoman Claire.
And this is for legal. When Councilman Sims was talking about adding that restriction into the ordinance, we did have a resident that spoke about, that this property could be sold. If this were to be rezoned to C2, would that prohibit restaurants and bowling alleys and C2?
That opens up a whole nother
That opens up
can
another
of worms.
Okay. Well, it was brought by one of the residents, that's why I was asking the
I
question.
understand. In reference to the football field exterior.
That's correct.
C2 includes everything in C1 plus.
Right.
Okay.
We have Councilman London.
Yeah, so let me ask, I just had a question. I asked one resident, if you don't mind, Mr. Jack, since I know you for 50 years. The football team playing on Friday nights, the lights, the noise, does that affect you? That affect you?
Know when it's gonna be, there's a schedule. I actually enjoy the band. I love it. I make a Friday night outside.
So that does affect the noise.
The football game is a lot different than somebody that's 50 yards from my house.
Right.
I actually enjoy the band. The lights don't shine on my house.
Right. I mean, we can fix the lights, yeah.
But they're faced a certain way. But if there's a football field 50 yards from my house and lights are shining on my house.
Well, there's ways around the light shining. Yeah.
Let's reel this back in. Let's
Okay,
reel this back
sorry.
in. This is not meant to be a.
So I agree with, let me go back. I just have.
I'm going to point of order.
Thank you.
Legal.
Under a C1 zoning, it says all lighting utilized within a C1 zone shall be arranged and so located
That's
that
right.
it will not shine, reflect, or glare into public streets or resident
That's right.
areas.
That's already.
Signs having illumination in which use green, yellow, or red colors, or signs which flicker or flash must be first.
I'm hearing some discussion from the audience. I'm really trying to pay attention to legal. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
So that is the actual zoning that building inspections in the city engineer's office actually review plans. That will be what they will be ensuring that those comply.
Lighting's covered essentially.
Yes.
Okay. So, Councilman Box you good?
Yeah, can you state it one more time, Council?
Yeah.
Well, I will amend it. I had stated for lighting and musical or noise issuances to go from 7 to 6 p.m. But since lighting is already covered, then I would simply say that noise, music, yelling, cheering, coaching, bullhorns, any encouragement, even though you could conduct the training, you could use earphones after 6 p.m., and you could use earphones before 7 a.m. So what I'm requesting is that we enforce a no outside music played over speakers, loudspeakers, or excessive noise from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. I don't see where that's unreasonable, but once again, that's just my motion.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Hold on, let me, discussion.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. So I think the problem is at 5 a.m. I think the
I am
problem.
picking up a lot of background. I will This is strike one for both of y'all. Strike one. We know how baseball works. Proceed.
Yeah, I think the issues is before 5 a.m. I don't think it's, from what I heard, I don't think the issues is between 7 and 6. That's because people are up and out and doing things.
Yeah, you're misunderstanding me, Council. I'm saying no excessive music before 7 a.m.
Oh, okay, you said.
And none after 6
Okay,
p.m.
I didn't hear you say before.
I'm sorry.
I thought you said
It was
between
just
7 and.
misunderstanding.
Okay.
Okay, I think you understand me.
Okay.
Well, again, I believe our noise ordinance already covers anything that's excessive, and
Right.
it's
Well,
pretty,
It's on the street.
That is accurate.
no, I mean,
That's not.
citizens have called the police on churches in our city for being loud. So I think we won't have a problem if they think the gym is loud. That they'll call.
Well, once again, I don't see why we can't have a little bit of work together between all the parties concerned. If you guys don't think that they can work together that way, then obviously we're not working together. So I have made my motion. It can be seconded and voted upon, or it cannot be.
Just for my benefit and everybody else, just reaffirm a third time what your motion is.
I am asking that the only thing conditional on the zone is that music before 7 a.m. and after 6 p.m. be either eliminated or kept down to a level where you would address headphones. People out doing Zumba classes can wear headphones. They can still be outside. They can still do all that, but the calls can be over headphones. It's a simple thing. When someone comes home in the afternoon at 5:30 or 6 p.m., they may want to just chill out. Football games are awesome. Love them myself, but they're not every day. No noises, no loud music before 7 a.m. You have a 5 o'clock Zumba class, give them some headphones. And nothing loud noises played musically after 6 p.m. That is not unreasonable. That's my motion.
Understood. Clearly articulated. I get it. There's a motion on the floor. Do we have a second for that motion?
Second.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? All in favor of the motion presented on the floor at this time?
Aye.
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 Aye. Councilman London. Councilman Quayer, aye. Councilman Box, aye. Councilman Sims, what say you?
Aye.
Aye. Fair enough. Second step.
Okay.
I'm sorry? That was a motion with specific timeframes around, if you want to restate it for legal so she can record it correctly.
Well, no, I was just trying to figure out, so are we amending the current ordinance to attach those restrictions to it? And so that was the first reading of the new ordinance?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so
Yes.
now we'll
Quick.
move to suspend the rules.
Right.
Based on the amended ordinance. Okay,
Policy
making
question
sure we-
from Councilman
I have a
Sims.
question. Did yours restrict C1 to,
It did not. Because I believe the young man's going to do what he said, and I believe God's going to enable him to do it.
correct?
Trust exercise.
I do have one clarification though, because we were talking about making sure that we have language in there that would prohibit a restaurant or a bowling alley or anyone else from coming in there if he were to sell the property. Can we add language that would prohibit that from happening?
Since we haven't moved further, if that's something Councilman Box desires, then this would be the time to amend that introduction
Yes.
before we move through and this thing takes it whatever turn it's going to take.
We will make that amendment as per the guidance of the verbiage that our legal counsel will give us, if the body will so move with me.
So we have the noise as originally introduced from the exterior sources between certain times, and then we have the ask for the additional language so that any other aspects of C1 that does not comply with what he is doing, the spirit of his project, be stripped.
So basically, the only thing he could do that could be used on that site would be a recreation center.
Yes.
Yes.
So and that would be item number S. Is that correct?
in that ordinance. Y'all are not going to see
Yes,
it.
yes, yes,
But
yes,
it's
yes.
just basically
Yes.
going to say recreation centers, including bowling alleys, roller skating rinks, dance halls, pool and billiard rooms, when conducted entirely within an enclosed building.
Yes.
Yes, if that's what y'all want.
And you're willing to amend that as introduced.
I'm
I
willing to
understand the
amend it
trust
as
exercise, and I
introduced
appreciate that.
Because I think the body all has their individual things that they want. So I will definitely reintroduce it as per April's guidance.
Reintroduced, modified as stated. Do we have a second?
Second.
I would also ask the applicant if that
Oh,
would
true.
be acceptable to him as well, since, you know, his application is coming in front of the city.
Thumbs up, thumbs down, sir. Fair point.
Okay, what I'm asking, Trey, is before 7 a.m., you won't be playing music outdoors. Very good, sir. And after 6 p.m., you won't be playing music outdoors. And then the other adjustment, Miss April can explain to you, should you change your mind and not build a gym or have a different vision or sell the property, there will only be certain things that could be produced on that property. And if April, if you could explain that to us.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So if you did not build a gym, and so then they would actually have to come back and rezone it again to be able to do anything differently with it other than, forgot the word.
Recreation.
Activity center, or recreation center. Correct, because that would be the only thing in a C1 that you could do there.
We've now heard from the requester. Did you reintroduce it for the 15th time
I
as
sure
its
will.
final? Yeah.
I make a motion.
All right.
That we approve, or excuse me, I make a motion that ordinance number 2020, can't even see it now, my eyes are going, 2024-08 be considered read with the following amendments as previously stated. No music before 6 a.m., no music after 6 p.m., and the zoning adjustments be limited to a recreational usage facility as per Council Sims and legal's guidance.
Are we good, legal?
And that would be set out in section 4:14-1S.
And what she said.
Fantastic.
Second.
We have a motion.
One more discussion. One more question.
Okay.
One more question.
So close, John. So
Oh,
close.
you was close. You was close. All right. We're almost out. We're gonna be out of here. So does that allow him to have the football field outside?
No.
Okay, but now, when you say a football field, and excuse me for going out of order, when we say a football field, are we talking about a 100-yard football field or just a scaled-down practice football field?
Problem was the initial building was too big, so we had to scale. The football field is actually 50 yards, 25 yards of its inside. The actual 25 yards is sticking outside. So it's not like
It's not a football field. Thank you.
It's not a full football field. It's just training where we can run out.
Thank
back
you. It's a
door.
training field.
You can let the gate up, people run out the field. It's not
Okay.
like you're gonna be playing. You can't even play football.
I understand. Very well.
So it's not a football field like the high school.
I think I grasp that. Does everyone else on the
I
council?
just want to ask that question.
So
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, I get it.
Thank you for the clarification.
we need to, although we understand what a football field is, and I would interpret the spirit of a football field by definition would be understood. I just want to make sure that legal is good with that. This is not an actual football field by proper measurements. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Copy.
I don't think that actually matters. I think it has to be inside based upon the current wording of the C1 zoning.
Can we allow it in an amendment here? Somehow.
Not without amending the C1 ordinance.
So then it has to go back to my initial presentation.
Where would that be allowed? So if we do C2 and restrict it to only the thing, we're doing the same thing, right? It still can only be the gym.
That's correct. You could do that. That'd be personal service.
You want to do it this time?
I don't remember.
I'm sorry. No worries.
No, it's good catch.
Good. This is what we're supposed to do.
Because we'd have been back.
We're supposed to peacefully work through this instead of all getting all up in our back.
Let's let legal noodle this out for a second.
I'll let her tell me what to say.
Come back from vacation, get to work.
All right.
That would be a C2 as a recreational center, partially or entirely out of doors.
Are there-
Now, one thing is when you change that, you don't have the lighting. Let's see. Well, it's still the same. It says all lighting utilized within a C2 zone shall be arranged and so located that it will not shine, reflect, or glare into public streets or residential areas. So it does say the very same thing in AC2 that it does in AC1.
So based on that, are there any, talking to Trey here, are there any complications or anything that he should anticipate? We're talking about lighting. That's all taken care of. We've talked about hours. We've talked about limiting the zoning to only those aspects that would encompass a fitness facility. Is there anything about flipping it from C1 to C2 that he needs to be considerate of?
I believe there's something that we would need to be considering as a city because we would be changing what was actually advertised.
I understand that.
And so therefore,
No.
because we would be changing that, we would need to actually re-advertise it
Yeah.
so that everybody understands exactly what is going to occur, because there may be people that would not object to it being a C1
understand.
that didn't come that would
Understand.
object for C2.
I know we've changed it on the floor at P&Z, but we never changed it on the floor here because obviously that wouldn't make any sense.
And that's correct, because you have an advertisement prior to
Alright.
this.
So this football field that seems to be the crux of everything. So he's not talking about it being an actual football field. I think that was just the best term he could use to describe it. It's actually just a section of AstroTurf that is partially indoor and partially outdoor. We have businesses that have
Yes.
pieces of AstroTurf, such as that landscaping company that we approved. I can't remember the zoning though. That's
With
the only thing.
C2.
It was C2?
Yep.
Okay. Is
The
there any,
residents were good with
Well, I
C2.
think it's the fact it's being used recreationally is, I think, what the issue is going to be, correct?
That's exactly correct, because it is a recreational center, which the C1 ordinance says has to be conducted entirely within an enclosed building. So if he can put it inside and just actually make his building bigger, for that, then, then that would satisfy that.
and then any proposed extension that would be outside the building would just could not be AstroTurf. It could just be grass. It could be a field for that matter.
Well, it just couldn't be used for training because that's the whole part of the difference in C2 and C1.
Correct, because
So
it
he
would
would not
still
be
be a
able to do-
recreational center.
He would not be able to do training outside if it was in C1. Is that what we're saying?
According to C1 zoning, a recreational center has to be entirely within an enclosed building,
Okay.
conducted within
Okay,
an
so-
enclosed
So-
building.
May I ask a
Please.
question on that?
Yeah.
So even if we pass this without any restrictions, we were about to put it into a zoning thing where we wouldn't allow him to do what he's trying to do.
Essentially.
So
This football
guys,
field's the crux.
neighbors and Mr. Cheney, get together,
That's what I was
talk this
asking.
over, and come back to us, because if we approve it right now, he can't build it like he wants to.
Well, let's give the man a choice. Let's give the man a
True,
choice.
True, but it.
So
he
you've
can't
heard
build it like he
you've heard
wants.
the issue. All right. The training field outside, that's a no-go on C1, and we're on the doorstep. We're on the doorstep. If you insist on the exterior training, it's going to have to be renoticed as a C2. What's your preference, sir? No, I understand. It's just,
We're
it's just
not
how the
talking about the
zoning law
lights.
is written. Partial inside good, no outside. So that brings us back to the, okay. So we're gonna have to renotice it as C2.
And I'm sorry, that's just unfortunate. Even if we pass it with no conditions, the C1 would not allow you to have a field outside.
And Council President Spivey, it would not have to go back to P and Z.
It would not, it could just come back to
would
us,
not. It
but
would
we'd
come
still
back
have to
to you,
renotice it and
but
give
you
the
would have
appropriate
to
amount of time.
Can we
Renotice it,
make
correct.
it by July 2?
It would be,
I mean, June 2nd?
I don't know if there's not
If I
enough
look at
time
the
for the
right
June
month.
2nd meeting. It's a 15-day window, yeah. It would come back in a month, essentially. The second meeting of July.
Oh, wait.
Now, question for you.
June.
June,
Second
sorry, forget which, 2 Jade months back to back. I don't know who did it. Plus, it's well past my bedtime. So, question for everyone to consider. Okay, we could make, and this I'm just spitballing, and like I said, it's past my bedtime, so you're getting a little bit of a different person. And legal, I'm open to all feedback here. We could take it as where it's at right now with what we're offering to approve. Okay. The potential of rezoning it at C2 at a later meeting, and tell me if I'm going crazy on this. Tell me if this is stupid. That you're just going to have that way you could at least possibly get started with your project, and then we could bring it up for rezoning when you are ready to add that section of field. I know you are 13 G's a month to see stuff sitting on the ground. Can't feel good. All right. Am I crazy?
It would be my assertion that if you go and you actually have a vote to rezone it as a C1 tonight, he would need to start over at P&Z.
I agree.
If you go to a C2 then.
I understand.
So that would be the only thing.
Copy. Do you understand? Do you want to take it as it is right now? Copy that.
Council President.
Yes, sir.
Very quickly, if it's allowed, I would like to see just a show of hands, the amenability of the neighbors with
That's what I was
just the
gonna
noise
ask.
ordinance and go and see one.
I think that's fair.
Thank you. So if you'll so direct.
Okay. So is everybody keeping score? Okay. So what we're talking about is the exercise field, the exterior, any exercising or training of any sort in C1 cannot happen outside of the building. It must happen inside. His business model, it's very important that training not only occur inside, but outside. What we are proposing is to go ahead and go with the C1 zoning, let him go ahead and get started. But as of right now, the exterior training ground is off the table. And then once he can come back and repetition a C1 to go to a C2. It goes through P&Z and then possibly get that awarded to him at that time. But just as a straw vote, which I think Councilman Box is asking for, let me get a show of hands on the yay side. Who would be cool with the C1 flipping to C2?
No, I'm actually asking that the noise portion of this stay in place.
Right.
The C1 pass.
Right.
And then, as you said, so I want to make sure that the neighbors know that the noise portion is going to be in place.
Okay.
Who would support that?
I misunderstood
Because
you.
If that's not going to work out, these guys are going to have to go back and talk together anyway.
Okay, so catch me up. Where are we?
Oh, I'm asking for a show. Excuse me a moment.
Please.
I'm asking for a show of hands. Any neighbors out here? We're moving forward as C1 with the noise ordinance. He will come back at a later date and attempt to modify to a C2 to get his outdoor practice field set up. How many of you neighbors would be okay with that? No music from 7 a.m., before 7 a.m. or after 6 p.m. Just a show of hand of the neighbors that are here, you ones that were already for it, and any that are against it. Because I've got my list of who was for and who was against.
We would still limit it to the same way we're limiting C1.
We would limit it down and bring some more guardrails in.
It would only be allowed to be basically a gym.
The only reason we would need to move it from C1 to C2 is the exterior training.
Which is about 25 yards.
Which is about 25
That's all.
yards.
Just 25 yards.
So,
Right.
I mean, it's simple, guys. If you will agree to let the young gentleman move forward with the noise ordinance in place, the lights are already covered. They're not gonna have lights off everywhere because they have to fit
They have
under
to
a
abide.
certain ordinance. And then to get started, he will not have the outdoor field. He'll have to come back and get that approved. But it will only be a very, very small field. Not right now.
No.
What we're agreeing is he can move forward. He can come back and get the other small field approved to go to C2 at a later time. So, citizenry, what say you on the proposal?
Let's do this organized. Show of hands for the noise ordinance and stuff like that. Okay.
Sure.
I think Trey cleared it up.
I think you did too.
One thing that concerned us was pickleball outside, because that will drive you nuts. He's saying he's not. So what you're saying is, going to this different one, it's just this 25-yard football.
That's what we're talking
It'll
about.
be a tennis court, pickleball, and all that.
We're talking about 25 yards worth of exercise and training facility. Okay.
We're just gonna, he's gonna let up a gate where they can run 50 yards.
I never heard that either.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
We're not discussing that, and I'm going to bring this back in. I know we've gotten a little outside, and I've enjoyed this, and I think we've made an extreme amount of progress. I'm enjoying this, and I'm allowing a little stuff. But are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we have a show of hands, because we're making progress. We're listening to what you're saying. Councilman Box has been taking notes. We've got this in place. It would be a C1 right now. There cannot be any outdoor activities right now. Everything, his building, all has to be within. I saw someone raise their hand. Did you have a question? Ms. Fafiatis?
Well, we're not going to go back
I
to
just
taking.
want to make sure that we're hearing everybody.
We're not going to go back to
That's
taking questions. Just this will be a raising four.
Yes,
This will
if
be a
you'll
raising
raise your
four.
hand, if you're fine with what we've got right
Okay.
keep them
now.
up, please.
Keep them up.
Keep them up.
This will be
Thank you.
four. This will be the four.
All right.
With
Against.
what he's got in place.
Okay, against.
One against, two
Okay.
against,
All right, fair enough.
three against.
Three. All right.
Is
Fair
that
enough.
again?
I think we've
All
done
right.
a sample.
Yeah.
So you have a motion that you would like to introduce.
I will reintroduce motion, ordinance number 2024-08 with the amendment of a noise limitation before the hours of 7 a.m. and after the hours of 6 p.m. And I'd like to consider that ordinance read
With the limitations that carve out anything other than a recreational facility.
with the limitations that they only carve out a recreational facility under the guidelines of C1.
Copy that. We have a
Second.
motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion that we suspend all rules that will prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2024-08.
Second.
Motion, second roll call. London?
Yes.
Councilwoman Quayle?
It appears that the constituents are okay with this.
just
I
need
want
a-
to make sure that I'm hearing what my constituents are saying.
We just need a yes or no on a roll call, Councilwoman.
No.
A no. Councilman Box?
Yes.
Councilman Sims?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Motion fails. I appreciate all of the conversation. This can come back in 2 weeks on a majority. So I made a mention of the process that this has to go through, so I don't find ourselves surprised to be here. Okay? But I am saddened that we are here considering the hard work that we have done tonight. And I appreciate the spirit from every single one of y'all that attended. I was dreading this meeting for the past 5 days. But I really feel as a community, we came together, we noodled this out, and we are where we are. 2 weeks, majority vote. I ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.